CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hey, good morning. 14 degrees here. It's 6 o'clock. It's Friday, August 21st, and we got a full warm weather forecast for you today coming up in just a moment. But now it's 6 o'clock. Let's get to the news with Lisa Best.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning. West RCMP say a single vehicle collision in Colwood led to a drug investigation earlier this week. Happened around 8:45 Wednesday evening. The collision near the intersection of Island Highway and Whale Road. A witness told officers a pickup truck had been doing burnouts before hitting a telephone pole. The 53-year-old driver was found to have a suspended license. He was sober behind the wheel. Police say they found evidence of illicit drugs inside the vehicle, arrested him on drug trafficking related offenses. A search of the vehicle turned up about 240 grams of suspected methamphetamine, 98 grams of suspected coke, and drug paraphernalia. The driver faces several charges of pickup impounded. Police say the investigation continues. In Port Alberni, a man's been sentenced to 22 years in jail after being convicted of sexual offenses. RCMP say Sean Patter was sentenced on August 11th after being convicted of one count of sexual interference involving a person under 14, two involving a person under 16, and one count of sexual assault. In Oak Bay, police responding to 87 calls for service in the past week, including one that had a lot of jewelry disappear. Police are investigating the theft of over $6,000 worth of jewelry reported missing from an open house on August 12th. Police believe the bling was stolen while members of the public were touring the home. Police say the open house can create opportunities for theft while large numbers of people moving through a residence, some sight unseen. They're encouraging homeowners to remove and secure precious things, including cash, jewelry, financial documents, medication and keys, and other valuables before hosting an open house. Well, to the trade talks now. For the second time this week, we're watching closely that clock to see if Canadian and American officials can come to some deal and hash out that trade deal before 9 our time. Following this lengthy meeting in Washington yesterday, there were hints that they were close, getting close to the finish line anyway. CTV's Michael Couture has the latest.
Are you able to say anything about negotiations, Ambassador?
I am not.
It was a 3-hour meeting, the longest the two sides have sat face-to-face during these negotiations. And Minister Dominic LeBlanc attempted to reassure Canadians as the deadline approaches.
Canadians expect us to get a deal that's in the economic interest of Canada and Canadian workers. We're very close. We continue to make progress.
3 sources tell CTV News there are reductions in Section 232 tariffs on the table as part of the agreement, but it's unclear how far those levies would go down.
Meanwhile, there's worry that one premier's comments could potentially disrupt some of the progress. Here's what Manitoba's Hoang Canues had to say about the state of trade talks yesterday.
I think we should fight. I think we've got the upper hand. They're back on their heels right now. They're coming to us for a deal, and so I think we should fight.
CTV News chief political correspondent and CFAX host Vassy Kapelos explains how federal government officials are reacting to those comments.
The exact phrases used to describe what Premier Canoe said, which of course he feels is very justifiable, not helpful. The timing couldn't be worse and very frustrating. I think the bigger issue for the federal government and the negotiating team, however, is that the Premier's comments, if you look at public opinion polling, are very much in line with what Canadians think. I think this is a prime example of the challenge that lies ahead, even if a deal is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Despite our ongoing spat with our U.S. cousins, Stats Canada says the number of cross-border trips in both directions went up in June. CTV's Maria Sauer has details.
More Americans are traveling north. Visits were up just over 6% from last year, marking the 5th straight month of growth. At the same time, more Canadians are going south. Return trips rose 5%, continuing a 3-month turnaround.
There's a bit of a thawing, I would say. We're more open to it. I think just a feeling that we're missing out of all these great attractions and activities in the US.
I want to go sometimes to New York.
Others aren't convinced.
I wouldn't do it in a million years. There's no real reason to go down south at the moment.
And some pollsters say it will take time for public opinion to catch up with stats that show crime is falling in this country. David Coletta with Abacus Data says there's a perception that crime can outlast reality. Even with Stats Canada showing falling crime rates, many Canadians just simply don't believe it. In July, Stats Canada said both the rates and severity of reported crime were down, almost across the board last year. The federal conservatives say nothing has changed, suggesting statistics show crime has increased since the Liberals were elected in 2015. That's your news, 2605. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. Have you ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet? 11% say yes. You can vote now at cfax1070.com or on the iHeartRadio app. And heck, if you want to share that story, you can text us at 71010. I'd like to know what it was and how long you tried to keep it and if you were successful. That's your news to 606.
I was like 8. I decided I was going to keep snails.
Oh.
Grabbed a bunch of snails, built them a little like habitat.
Yeah.
Drew little like cartoons, named them all, and they had like a backstory and everything. And
wow.
I'm sure this lasted about a day before I got bored and let them all out. But for a brief moment in time as an 8-year-old.
And your mother sighed in relief.
Why are you bringing snails into the house?
Better than spiders, I suppose.
That's true. Yeah. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, let us know. See you 7-10-10. Oh, welcome to Friday. Glad you're here. It's sunny today. We got clouds coming in. We got the warmest day of the week ahead with the humidity feeling like 31 once we get into it. And then the chance of showers is moving up a little bit. We might even see a small risk of a thunderstorm tonight. We were thinking it was going to be Saturday, but now it looks like maybe some action starting later tonight. But weirdly, starting off sunny today, and I'll get you the full forecast in just a moment. Right now, it's over to the sports, where I got a couple of football stories for you. The Ottawa Red Blacks are still looking for their first win of the CFL season. The league-leading Montreal Alouettes rolled to a 46-16 victory in the Week 12 opener last night. The Red Blacks have lost all 10 games that they've played this year. Winnipeg will visit Edmonton tomorrow. Also, BC Lions will be in action coming up on Sunday against the Rough Riders. That's when we'll see BC play. But tomorrow, we got some local football. I had a text to remind me that the West Shore Rebels season is underway, and the West Shore Rebels will be hosting the Okanagan Sun Saturday. This is tomorrow, Starlight Stadium. Game starts at 4 o'clock, and the Rebels 3-1 so far on the season, so off to a great start. And at Starlight Stadium tomorrow. To the baseball, where the Toronto Blue Jays have the momentum on their side as they visit New York this evening for the opener of 3 games. Toronto beat Tampa Bay 5-1 yesterday for their 7th series win in a row. The Jays are still a half game behind Minnesota in the battle for the 3rd wild card spot in the American League. The tightest divisional race in Major League Baseball is in the American League West. Texas Rangers beat Washington 2-0 to move a game behind first place Houston. Seattle, the Mariners, well, they're 4 games behind the Astros after dropping a 7-4 decision till Milwaukee. The LA Angels crushed Houston 18-3 in some of the other baseball action going on last night. There is your CFAX 1070 Sports at 6:09. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. I do want to start with the weather just because it's interesting. We've got sunshine to start the day. Now look outside. The sun's going to be... Actually, I think the sun is up. What is it? Sunrise at 6:15 this morning. So that's in 5 minutes. It's going to be getting into a sunny start to the day. But then clouds are coming. And we'll see a high of 26, humidex of 31. Warmest day so far of the week. Then by tonight, though, small chance of showers shows up. Even a risk of a thunderstorm. Lows down to 14. Tomorrow, chance of showers now in the day. Yesterday, we were thinking evening. Now it looks like, during the day, maybe a chance of showers coming our way. Highs of 20, humidex of 25. So it's going to be kind of muggy in the possible rain. Sunday, cloudy, chance of showers. Clears up for next week, though. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday of the long week, looking sunny. Lisa's very excited that the rain is coming just in time for the weekend. You're giving me the big thumbs down.
Seriously.
You're not excited.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Cracking open.
Because it's the
beautiful
weekend.
Again on Monday.
I don't know. Maybe we could just sit back and enjoy the rain.
Okay, Ryan, you enjoy that.
Well, see,
I just don't want it to happen on the weekend.
Yeah.
First world problems.
The timing could be better. You are right. I'm not trying to argue.
You're seeing the bright side.
I'm just trying to get my... You know what? One thing, it seems like it's one of those warm, kind of almost Eastern Canada kind of rains, though. So that'll be kind of fun.
Now you're selling us on the kind of rain it is.
Well, yeah, because, I feel like Victoria rain, it gets cold and it never really rains. It just kind of drizzles constantly for days on end.
Well, not here. Not
without
now.
ever
Wait till November.
Sure.
Yeah.
This seems like, it's going to be warm and muggy and kind of wet. It's a whole different rain.
Okay. All right.
It's like going on a trip.
Okay.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, you're thinking of Caribbean rain is what
there you go. That
suggesting,
kind of rain.
Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping.
I'm going on about the weather because there's really nothing in traffic to talk about. It's clear right now. Let us know if you see anything out there at 7:10. On the markets, opening bells will ring a little later this hour, so let's take a look at how things closed off yesterday with Aaron Sousa.
Canada's main stock index slipped yesterday. Toronto's S&P TSX falling 36 points to 36,365. In New York, the Dow fell 703 points and the Nasdaq lost 263. In Tokyo today, the Nikkei gave back 200 points, but the Hang Seng in Hong Kong jumped by 310. Our dollar is trading near 72.73 cents U.S. U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of 50% tariffs on a range of Canadian goods looms. It's to take effect just after midnight unless officials finalize a trade deal. Canadian officials have been in Washington to do precisely that. Canadian apparel company Roots is going private, the company agreeing to a transaction led by marquee brands for $4.10 a share. The deal will see JM&A Design and Development acquire all shares. And Alberta's tech minister faced a hostile crowd last night at his second town hall on AI data centers. Attendees hurled profanities and voiced environmental concerns and distrust in the government's handling of the file. From the Canadian Press, I'm Aaron Sousa.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Good morning. Welcome to Friday. I'm Ryan. We got Lisa here as we kick the day off in Victoria here on CFAX 1070. And one of the things we're going to start with is continuing to wonder where we're at in this Canada-U.S. trade negotiation situation. We know we got this new deadline of midnight Saturday to evade the new 50% tariffs on some exports to the U.S. So that deadline is looming again. We are looking at a number of things like how the negotiations are going in Washington, D.C.
I wish it was Washington State doing the negotiations.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister back down there. We got the negotiators hammering it out. We still haven't heard from David Eby, the BC Premier, on what we'll do about BC booze. So there's another story we're waiting to see.
We've heard from Wab Kinew, though, in a big way.
Oh, he was...
like this.
I think we should fight. I think we've got the upper hand. They're back on their heels right now. They're coming to us for a deal. And so I think we should fight.
There's a bit of pearl clutching going on about that. Because that's like Doug Ford weighing in and saying things in the 11th hour and Donald Trump getting upset about it, calling everything off.
Whatever you think of Wab Kinew and whether or not it's the right things to say and maybe he's alarming people, can I just say I was laughing, though? He is very funny when he gets going.
Agreed. Well, because the gloves are off and he has no filter right now.
That's the thing that's great. I just love the way he talks like no other politician. He just says what's on his mind.
Well, so
and
does
it's
Doug Ford
refreshing.
in Ontario.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and whether you love it or hate it, you could appreciate it, I guess.
And you might agree with him because it's quite refreshing. However, maybe we had a deal, maybe we don't. I don't think one leader's comments from a premier should make a difference in this. But we understand how things go in Washington, D.C. right now. It's a bit reactionary. So maybe something will come of that. We also had the vice president make comments about Mark Carney that weren't very pleasant and weren't very flattering yesterday.
Yeah,
so,
and they're not worried about saying the wrong thing.
Of course not. They're trading barbs back and forth. So I really liked it because he had the gloves off and he had no filter and he just said what he wanted to.
So those are the things we're watching today because this story is still very much in flux. And one of the things I want to do right off the bat, Lisa, is a reporter with the Canadian Press who we've reached out to from time to time who is in Washington, D.C., works for the Canadian Press, Carrie Geraldine Malone. She's going to be joining us in just a few moments, actually, to talk about what it's like reporting on this from Washington, D.C., and, if she's got any news for us, but also just, what's the vibe there? I think the last time I talked to her about this, it was a year and a half ago when trade stuff first started to erupt.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening to hear her take because as Canada was completely having a panic attack over this, obviously, why wouldn't we? She would say she'd go to the bar after work and nobody in the States would have any idea this was happening. I thought that was just illuminating to me back then. Like, Americans had no clue. This was completely off their radar, off their news.
And it is off the radar of most Americans. They may not like the prices they're seeing on the shelf either, but it's not something that most people are hanging on like watching a soap opera every day. It's just not because life happens.
Yeah. What's it like down there this time around? Because that was a year and a half ago. We're going to find out in just a few moments. We'll get to that right after Lisa's news headlines.
City of Victoria installing numbered signs at key locations at access points between Ogden Point and Gonzales Park to allow for faster response in emergencies and keep people informed. There's 19 tall, slim, black and lime green posts identifying the location with a big number, as well as a list of do and don'ts, usually in picture form. That includes leash requirements, fire and alcohol rules, and what to expect if you're going swimming or on the water in that area. Triathlon Canada hosting a super sprint and relay national championship in the city this weekend. That means there'll be a temporary closure of the weekend along Dallas Road in both directions. Saturday and Sunday, it'll be closed between Cook and Memorial, and that will include the Clover Point Loop. Traffic detours will be in place from 7 till 1 every day. The Clover Point Loop expected to reopen around 3 on Sunday afternoon, so you may have afternoons available, but it looks like the mornings are off limits through that one stretch of Dallas. A twin-engine plane making an emergency landing on a road in Prince George yesterday, crashing into 2 vehicles and scattering debris, including the prop. RCMP say one person inside one of the vehicles died. They say potential injuries, or 2 others are potentially injured, including the people in the plane, but not currently known the numbers. The Transportation Safety Board says investigators are expected to arrive in the city today. And Mark Zuckerberg, because he can pretty much buy anything, has bought himself a castle in Ireland. The billionaire tech CEO buying a property close to his company's Irish office. He just purchased a castle near Meta's international headquarters in Dublin. The Guardian estimates the nearly 2-century-old Waterford County Castle cost between $23 and $35 million US. That is your news to 6:18.
By the way, Lisa, the news poll question asking if you ever kept a weird pet. What's the actual wording of it? Did you ever keep a wild animal as a pet?
Have you ever attempted?
Attempted, yeah.
I threw that in because I thought, maybe I didn't keep it. Maybe you tried to, like a bunny or something.
Texter at 71010 says, I think I was maybe 10 years old or 11 when I found a duckling in our garden, and I tried to keep it alive in my hamster cage. Oh, that's so cute.
That's cute. Probably outgrew it.
I wonder how that story ends.
Yeah.
So let us know.
Kind of like ...
Yeah, ... You can imagine. Probably didn't go well. Anyways, we'll keep those texts coming at 71010. But yeah, the Canadian Press correspondent from Washington, D.C., talking about the trade negotiations, joining us next. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Well, the roads are the calm part. Nothing going on. Things are very clear right now. At this point in our Friday morning commute, no waits at BC Ferries. The weather's what's interesting because we start sunny, we cloud over the course of the day. We get quite warm. It's our warmest day of the week. Highs of 26, humidex of 31, and then chance of showers at risk of a thunderstorm overnight tonight. Lows down to 14. Still a chance of showers into the day tomorrow, and still quite warm and humid tomorrow. It's not the usual Victoria thing where we get really cold every time it rains. Then Sunday, still a chance of showers. We clear up in time for next week. Right now, it's 14 degrees.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
All right, let's get the latest on where we're at with this U.S.-Canada trade situation. And a bunch of stories have been emerging, including hearing that Vice President J.D. Vance was mocking our Prime Minister and his portrayal of the agreement as a Canadian victory. That's one of the storylines coming out here that my guest has been covering. Kelly Geraldine Malone is the Canadian Press Washington correspondent. Hello, how are you?
Good morning. I am okay. I am getting caffeinated, so we're getting ready for a trade deal deadline.
I'm sure this has been quite the week for you personally, or just any reporter trying to cover this, as it's been sort of on high alert the whole time.
Yes, it's been, obviously for a Canadian in D.C., certainly the reporters, but I think probably officials and anyone, it's been quite an intense week. I was at the Iowa State Fair until Sunday and then flew back to D.C. Monday. And at that point, we had the Wednesday deadline looming on us. And then you got announced the 3-day extension. And now we're at that deadline. So I think, everyone's watching with heightened anticipation, hoping for some sort of answer today. Certainly for the reporters who don't want to work tomorrow, we're looking at that midnight deadline closely.
Hoping maybe something just gets sorted by then. And what's the latest in trying to make that happen? What are things like this morning? 'Cause, I mean, it's 6 a.m. here in Victoria, but there it's into the 9 o'clock hour. I guess things are starting to get rolling. What have we heard so far?
Well, we have just learned that Dominic LeBlanc, the Canada-U.S. Trade Minister, who has been in D.C. off and on for weeks, but very much having heightened, intense negotiations this week. He's headed to the United States Trade Representative's office, where he'll be meeting with Jameson Greer. That's Trump's trade czar. That's the guy who's kind of leading all of this. And they're going to have a meeting. They were having an extremely long meeting yesterday. Who knows how long it's going to be today, but it's starting at 10:30 Eastern time. So that's about an hour away from where you're at.
Okay, so those meetings are getting back underway. And what's the sense going into these? Like, are they close? Are they just dotting some I's and crossing some T's here? Or are there major hurdles still? Or do we even know those kind of details?
I was telling someone that I've had the most wildly different kind of tips this week, hearing things from, we're right around the corner from a deal to, there are still major trade issues that they have to work out. What has been reported thus far is that, there's kind of a deal on these sectoral tariffs. So that's Section 232 tariffs, and that's steel, aluminum, and autos. And what's being reported is that for autos, that's probably the main contentious one, especially considering Ontario. That remains a big issue today. Some of the initial leaks coming out was that the 25% tariffs on autos will drop to 15%, but the Trump administration wants that tariff to apply to the non-American components, versus the Canadian officials are pushing it to apply to the tariff to only components that are not compliant under the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Agreement on Trade. In Canada, we call that CUSMA. In the U.S., it's USMCA. And so that's a big sticking point there. The other ones that we're hearing is the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum would drop to 25%. For steel, that would be for a quota. So a certain amount of steel from Canada could go into the U.S. for the 25% tariff, but when it hits a certain number, then it goes back to 50. For aluminum, I'm hearing no quotas. And then on the other side, which I think, I really hope to hear more about, is, well, what's Canada going to do in return? Certainly we know about this Trump administration. It's tit for tat. They're very transactional. Something's going to give on the Canadian side. What we've majorly been talking about in Canada is obviously the provincial booze bans. That's a main sticking point for the U.S. They're going to need to see provinces purchasing American liquor again. We've seen provinces kind of going west, supportive of it, but Quebec and Ontario have been very hesitant. Doug Ford hasn't even come out to speak on it. And Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew yesterday was a bit inflammatory in his remarks, although I've heard from sources in that province that they are willing to do it. So the provincial booze ban will be a major sticking point. The other two issues that the U.S. was using to legitimize this new round of tariffs was dairy supply management and then quotas that Canada put on autos in retaliation to Trump's original round of tariffs. The car quotas, I could see some movement on that on the Canadian side, but dairy supply management remains confusing. Dominic LeBlanc came out on Wednesday and told us that, no, supply management not getting dismantled. It's safe. But what I've been hearing from Americans is, yeah, they're fine with it staying, but there's some red tape around supply management that makes it hard for American producers to be able to sell their dairy products in Canada to the extent that they agreed to under the first Trump administration and under Kuzma. And so I'm interested to see the devil's in the details around supply management and dairy. But unfortunately, like I said, my tips are wide ranging and there's nothing that I've been able to confirm exactly what's being talked about there.
And all you got is tips because nobody, especially on the Canadian side, is saying anything of note, which I guess is makes sense. It's probably wise because you get situations like what you covered with the U.S. Vice President. Anything that is getting said is getting twisted and turned around. Talk about J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and this leaked clip of him talking about Mark Carney. What was that all about?
Well, J.D. Vance spoke Wednesday night. So that was, Tuesday, Trump late at night announced that there was this 3-day pause and he thought there was a deal with Canada. Big news here in the United States. There's a lot of trade between the two countries. So Wednesday night, J.D. Vance was at a big Republican youth fundraising. Well, I guess not big in money, not in attendance. So there was a small amount of people there, but people with very big bank accounts at this fundraising event in the Hamptons in New York. And he was talking to them, answering questions, Q&A. It was a closed-door meeting. It was a private event. But he was asked about this deal with Canada and what's going on with the Canada relationship. Fortunately, I was leaked the audio and got to listen to it. And, my spidey sense started tingling because right away with his answer, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And he kind of weighed in on three things that I think stood out, which is obviously Prime Minister Mark Carney and how the negotiations are going. A little off-the-hand comment about Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. And then he certainly hyped up his longtime good friend, Jamil Javani, who is a Conservative MP. So what he said about Carney was, he called him a good guy. He liked him. He said that they get along well. But he was saying that Carney comes in, puffs his chest out and says, I'm going to, out-tough Donald Trump. And he responded to that saying it's hilarious because Carney presents it as a victory for Canada when fundamentally they're climbing down on a lot of issues. So obviously when they're, Vance is talking to a room of party faithful and people with big pockets, he wants to sell this Canada deal as a win. And he's not really giving any details about what it is, but it did, heighten my senses of, okay, well, what's he's seeing as a win and Canada climbing down on? It could be the retaliation, it could be the booze bans, any of that. But he's certainly seeing it and selling it as a huge win. And then obviously, he brought up Pierre Poilievre himself, saying this Pierre Poilievre guy or something, and adding that he's a non-entity in negotiations. And I don't think that that's necessarily surprising. LeBlanc, Janice Charette, the chief negotiator, and Carney are kind of the leads on the negotiation. But Carney does have an advisory council that is bipartisan, and you have people on it like Aaron O'Toole. So it's interesting that the Trump administration is seeing Pierre Poilievre as just a non-entity, not someone that they have to concern themselves with or even really consider when they're making comments. And not only that, but that's what they're telling a room full of their biggest donors.
Yeah, it's kind of curious that they'd even name check Pierre Poilievre. He went out of his way to bring him up. There wasn't any reason to mention it. Yeah, it's very curious, isn't it?
Nobody asked about Pierre Poilievre in that room. I can tell you that. So he brought him up on his own. And we obviously have to see it in the context of J.D. Vance is good friends with Jamil Javani. Yeah. I think Jamil Javani and Pierre Poilievre have a complicated relationship. And so, what he's hearing is probably coming from his good friend.
Yeah.
And he brought up Jamil Javani, saying that he's been a huge advocate for Canada, and he's been able to help in negotiations around things like energy and autos. Jamil Javani kind of brought some controversy to Canada as he's freelance diplomacy here in Washington, D.C. He's been down quite a few times since inauguration, had different meetings, but he's done it a bit more formally kind of in the last year. In February, I believe it was, he even went to the White House and said he spoke to Donald Trump. And then he was here just a few months ago, and he kind of helped organize a meeting between Canadian businesses and Greer, who's Trump's guy leading these negotiations. So it's interesting to see how Vance is selling this to major Republican donors, including Don Jr., Howard Lutnick's son, and other big money people in the Republican Party.
We got Canadian Press Washington correspondent Kelly Geraldine Malone working on stories like that one, getting that audio from that J.D. Vance moment. Interesting stuff. Thank you for all your work, and thank you so much for joining us here and giving us a sense from the ground in Washington, D.C. about how this day is starting. It's kind of deadline day with midnight tonight, that deadline for a deal to be made and for us to avoid those 50% tariffs on some products. Thank you so much again. Good luck with your day. I hope you get a weekend off.
Me too. I hope we all do.
Yeah. It'd be nice not to have to think about it all weekend. Well, good luck. We'll talk again soon, I hope.
Sounds good.
All right, there we go. It's going to be a major story to watch today. Lisa, thank you for letting me borrow a few minutes from the news there to continue having that conversation from Washington, D.C. Just really fascinating to get that. So we will get to that news. Thank you for the extra time, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vashi Capellos.
What started as a dull day is anything but.
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily.
What is really going on?
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vashi Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vashi Capellos. Weekdays 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which
is on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 6:35 as we borrowed some time from the news. Friday, August 21st. So let's get over to that 6:30 edition. And here is Lisa Best.
Continuing with the tariff talk, second time this week, we're counting down the hours till that 9 o'clock our time deadline, midnight Eastern. Canadian American officials are working to get a pending trade deal across the finish line. Dominic LeBlanc has just heard from our reporter in Washington is meeting with his U.S. counterpart in about an hour from now at 10:30 Eastern. A former federal cabinet minister and members of the Canadian-U.S. Advisor Council, Lisa Raitt, offers her take on what's going down.
It's so tough to read whether or not this is a good deal or not a good deal because we're speculating, like, what is Premier Ford going to say? What did Webb Canoe say yesterday and why? And you just kind of get caught up in the soap opera of it all. The reality is that we needed to avoid those Section 338 tariffs from hitting. That's a good thing.
Adding to some of the political drama linked to these talks, the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said yesterday that Mark Carney tried to out-tough Donald Trump in negotiations and called it hilarious. And that Carney is presenting the temporary tariff pause as a victory. Now, Wab Kinu's comments are making news headlines stateside.
The Premier of Manitoba is urging Canada to keep fighting rather than rush to make concessions in trade talks with the United States. And he's telling Canadians not to buy U.S. alcohol if a trade deal results in it being put back on Canadian store shelves.
We don't like Donald Trump's approach to trade or his way of treating Canada. You know, very wise people have said you can't get a good deal with a bad person. And I think that rule applies here.
Audio courtesy of CTV. Kanu says President Donald Trump is erratic, irresponsible, and not to be trusted. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is trying to secure a deal with the U.S. that would avert threatened 50% U.S. tariffs. Canada's federal minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade says his country and the U.S. are close to finalizing an agreement. I'm Donna Warder.
A couple of plane crashes in northern BC and also in Alaska. A twin-engine plane making an emergency landing on a road in Prince George, crashing into two cars and scattering debris, including the prop. RCMP say one person inside a vehicle has died. They say others are potentially injured, but the extent of injuries are not known yet. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada crews are expected to arrive in Prince George today. Further north, federal officials now say there was no survivors in a small plane crash in Alaska.
A small plane went down in a remote area in the western part of the state yesterday afternoon, and we now know all 8 people on board were killed. The military says it was a civilian contracted aircraft and called it a devastating loss. The names of the passengers and 2 pilots have not yet been released.
Alberta's technology minister facing a firing squad of questions at the government's second town hall and its plans for artificial intelligence data centers. Nat Gublish was peppered with profanity from audience members in Redwater, north of Edmonton. Attendees raised environmental concerns and demanded specifics on safeguards.
How do we trust this government when they'll use any means to break their promises? They'll use notwithstanding clauses. They will use orders of council to release land. The mayor will go behind and change bylaws, zoning laws, behind everyone's back, and then have a public hearing at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday when no one's there. How can we trust you guys when you constantly lie and show us how slimy you are?
Tech giant Meta announcing plans to build a $13 billion AI data center project in that region. And that is your news to 640. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, have you ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet? You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Right now, 11% are saying yes. That's your news to 641.
And we've been asking, hey, text us if you got a fun story about keeping a wild animal at some point in your life. This texter at 71010 says they kept a baby crow for a week 50 years ago at a cottage. Released it, though, when we had to go home, and no idea how that ended.
Oh, well, it
Baby
probably grew
crow.
up, became a larger crow.
Yeah.
And then dive bombed you the next year because you were
That's
too
true.
close to the nest.
Well, I wonder if you raise a baby crow, will it be nice to you later in life? Will it not dive bomb you specifically?
That's a good question because they're pretty smart. They say they have the intelligence of a 7-year-old at times. So they recognize faces. So it's quite possible. I mean, most animals, if they grew up with you, even if they're wild, they will remember. We see these stories peppered on social media all the time.
Yeah. Let us know at 71010 if you got more stories. And you can go to cfax1070.com to vote on the news poll. Just go to our main page and scroll down a little bit. You find it right there. To the sports. What's going on in sports? Hey, a texter was letting me know we got West Shore Rebels football in action now. They're into their season, and they've got their next game at home, Starlight Stadium, tomorrow. It's a 4 p.m. start as the West Shore Rebels will host the Okanagan Sun. So far, the Rebels are 3-1 on the season. And for the CFL, Ottawa Redblacks still looking for their first win of the season. The league-leading Montreal Alouettes rolled to a 46-16 46-16 victory in Week 12. Opener, which was last night. The Red Blacks have now lost all 10 games they've played so far. BC Lions next in action on Sunday, by the way, right here on CFAX 1070. That is the next game up for them in the CFL for Week 12. Over to the baseball, Toronto Blue Jays heading into a 3-game set against New York this evening with a bit of momentum behind them. Toronto beat Tampa Bay 5-1 yesterday for their 7th series win in a row, and the Blue Jays are a half game behind Minnesota in the battle for the 3rd wild card spot in the American League. For Seattle, the Mariners, they're 4 games behind the Astros in their wild card race after dropping a 7-4 decision to Milwaukee. That is your CFAX Sports 2643. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort. The South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Airstage dealer. On the roads, no major collisions or problems like that to report right now. Starting to see a little bit of volume picking up on the Trans-Canada Highway heading from the West Shore into Victoria, but it's very light, comparatively speaking. We have in the weather forecast a chance of a shower by tonight. It's moved up in the forecast. We now have it possibly tonight, even a risk of a thunderstorm tonight, which kind of makes sense given the way we're leading into this. It's going to be sunny to start today, but it's going to cloud over and be very humid today. Humidex at 31, so feeling like 31. Otherwise, the temperature is 26 as a high. That chance of showers, that risk of a thunderstorm is coming overnight tonight, lows to 14. Tomorrow, chance of showers still. Chance of showers from Sunday as well, but Monday is when it clears up again, and we'll get back into some sunshine and be through whatever rain we get. Right now for the temperatures, in Oak Bay, you are looking at 13 degrees. The official temperature at the Victoria International Airport is 15.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at cfax1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey, it's 6:45. Let's get to the headlines out of the newsroom. Here's Lisa.
Thank you. Saanich Police posting some good news about one of their own. Constable Jennifer Allen is the recipient of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police Lifetime Achievement Award for traffic safety. The statement shares that in her 23-year policing career, first in California and the last decade in Saanich, Constable Allen has demonstrated exceptional dedication to road safety. She's become a subject matter expert on impaired driving investigations in both countries. She has personally removed 347 impaired drivers off the streets in the CRD. In health news, the FDA in the U.S. authorizing the first of its kind robotic device designed to draw blood from patients without manual human intervention. Called Aletta, the machine uses infrared light and Doppler ultrasound to locate veins. Health officials say the robot achieves success rates matching human technicians and will help combat critical lab staffing shortages moving forward. And The Odyssey has set an all-time R-rated record this week after being in theaters for more than a month. That film became the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. The epic film has made more than $1.3 million U.S. worldwide, edging out the previous record holder, Deadpool and Wolverine, by about $20 million. That's your news to 647.
Thank you, Lisa. We have been getting your texts about your wild animal stories. Did you ever try to keep one as a pet at some point? Attempted to keep them as a pet is the exact wording on the news poll question. We're asking this after we talked to the Wild Ark SPCA folks about the raccoons yesterday. They got 32 young orphaned raccoons. This time yesterday we had that chat with her.
Yes.
And if you find a young orphaned raccoon, it is advised you get them to somewhere like Wild Ark to care for them and rehabilitate them rather than keeping them as a pet yourself.
Well, she says it's how they are when they're young, cute and tiny and wanting attention from you. It belies what they're going to grow up to be. She said they're not great and they also carry diseases.
Which kind of goes along with what this texter here has to share for his story. This is Chris. Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. An elderly gentleman up the road from our farm had a quote-unquote zoo. And much to our parents' annoyance, gave my sister and I a baby raccoon to raise. We learned firsthand that raccoons are snarly, bitey, smelly.
Okay.
Please remember that. This was also a time when you could order a monkey through the mail back in the day.
Yeah, I remember a neighbor years, like decades and decades ago, kept a raccoon in a cage. This was when it was a lot more accepted.
Yeah.
And it was not a friendly animal.
No.
He's like, do not put your fingers in the cage. I'm like, why do you have this?
Yeah, why is this a good idea?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, okay. Let us know if you got a story about a misadventure with trying to keep a wild animal as a pet. I like how most of these are because you were a child. I feel like when you get to be an adult, you kind of realize, they belong outside. But
usually.
There's that whimsical, nature.
Try a rabbit. Baby rabbits, super cute.
Yeah.
Boy, can they defend themselves at a young age if they need to.
Surprisingly,
I was taking one to the SPCA for help because it had been attacked, and it jumped on me in the car. True story.
Really?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It wanted away. It wanted out. And it was actually kind of terrifying. This little baby bunny was attacking me. So, yeah, just because it's young, it's wild. And there's a difference.
Love all the stories at 7-10-10. Keep them coming. By the way, turns out, Lisa, I didn't know this, we're in the midst of Canadian Flowers Week.
Okay.
And one florist in the Comox Valley is recognizing the occasion with an installation of a floral display in a retired sailboat.
All right.
We're gonna
so like a found art display?
Maybe. Well, let's find out. We got this florist leading the
pedal charge.
That's the one.
Okay.
Also, owner of Wildflower Mercantile, Emily Uchuk is joining us in just a moment.
Nice.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. 40 years of Fringe magic. Experience Victoria Fringe Festival, August 26th through September 6th. Feel the roar at Pacific FC. Get your soccer tickets today at cplsoccer.com. West Shore Swap Shop and Market is at Rally at Royal Bay every Sunday. Support Goldstream Food Bank with a $2 admission or a food donation.
Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Roads are pretty clear right now. West Shore commute starting to pick up a little bit on the Trans-Canada Highway heading in towards Victoria, but it's just people slowing down. Through the construction zone, there's no crash, accident, or other slowdown. No waits at BC Ferries from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. And in the weather forecast, we start sunny, cloud over, get warm. It's going to be a high of 26, a humidex of 31. And then by tonight, it's a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at cfax1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, if you're in the Comox Valley, here's something to check out. It's Canadian Flowers Week. I didn't know that. And to celebrate, there is an installation, a floral display in the Comox Valley, which has been placed in something called a retired Optimist sailboat. I don't know what that is. How would I find out? I got to talk to the person behind this, Emily Uchuk, florist and owner of Wildflower Mercantile in the Comox Valley, joining us on the line. Emily, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Great to talk to you. So what is an Optimist sailboat, first off? I don't even know what that is.
Yes, which I didn't as well until my son became part of the Comox Bay Sailing Club. So the Optimist boat is a class of sailboat that is the small ones. You probably see them in the Victoria Harbor. And they are the small individual sailboats that are for kids kind of between 8 and 12. And that kind of teaches the skills, the beginning skills of sailing.
Okay, so
they're about
that's
7
what that is.
feet long by 3 feet wide. Yeah.
And what have you done with this one?
So this one was retired from life at sea. And so our sailing director just casually commented in our group that he had this retired Opti boat that wasn't seaworthy anymore, and did anyone want to turn it into a planter? And I didn't think much of it, and then I happened to look up the dates for Canadian Flowers Week, which happened to be the week after this message was sent, and then I kind of started getting an idea. So Canadian Flowers Week is a week that celebrates Canadian-grown flowers. It's an organization out east, and they highlight, Canadian growers, florists, farm stands, any way that you grow flowers, and you submit your whatever it is you do. You can do a farm tour, you can do an installation like I did, you can just do bouquets, whatever it is you want to highlight, and they do a competition. So at the end of the week, they'll pick the top 4, and then it goes to a vote. And I just thought it'd be fun to participate. I've never actually participated in an installation before, and I thought this would be a really fun way to be creative for the sake of being creative. Being a wedding florist, you sometimes are just always building for clients, so it was fun to just create for the sake of it.
Wow. Okay, so this is a competitive flower arrangement in this old sailboat.
It's kind of more of a celebration, I'd say. The prizes are all farm related. So you can win, flower bulbs, and so it's kind of a competition, but it's not really that intense. It's more for just the fun of it.
So Emily, what design did you go with, and how many flowers did you use? Like, what did you use in it?
It's funny. I was actually trying to figure this out yesterday. So I didn't really have a plan. I assumed someone had done this before, so I was looking for inspiration online for a couple of days because it all happened very quickly. Like, I got the boat, and then luckily the town of Comox was very quick to be like, yes, I love this idea, do it. So I got the permission really fast, and then I was like, okay, now I just need to figure it out. The other thing about the Canadian Flowers Week is they have very strict rules on what qualifies. So you have to use sustainable mechanics. You are not allowed to use any flower foam, which is great for the installation being so close to our water. But that you have to make this thing defy gravity, because I had to have the sail that was fully vertical, just being supported by, I used chicken wire. And then my husband cut PVC pipe specifically to match the dimensions of the Opti sail, because we actually have an Optimist boat because my son is on the sailing team. So it's accurate to the sailboat. And then I just kind of started building because I didn't see no one's done this before. So I think it's safe to say this is the first flower Opti boat in the world. And so I created a cage around the main sail, like mast, is chicken wire. And then I filled it with hydrangeas and boxwood. And then I did a sail with ferns. And then I filled the boat with plants and flowers. So I used about 12 buckets of flowers and then about 6 buckets for the mast. So a lot of flowers.
Wow, yeah. I'm looking at a picture of it right now because you got the boat, like the bottom of the boat is filled with flowers. But then, yeah, you've created this mast that kind of goes up and has a sail like it was a sail. There's even like the kind of rope hanging, or it's not a rope, but, plants that are forming what would be the rope kind of hanging off of the sail. Really cool looking. Now, this is up through the weekend in Comox, right? Where can people find this?
Yes, so it's at the Comox Marina. And it is just up for the week, so I will be taking it down at the end of the day on the 23rd. And it's by the boat launch, so it's pretty hard to miss. I also wanted to quickly add that a lot of the flowers were grown by Project Inclusion, which is another kind of beautiful partnership that I started with. It's a group of adults with diverse abilities through the Child Development Association, and they loved gardening, but they didn't know what to do with the flowers when they were done. So we set up this partnership that they would grow what I wanted them to grow, and then I would buy the flowers from them. And so it's really kind of cool as well for them to see their flowers in something so, beautiful and dramatic.
That's so neat. Well, good luck with the competition.
I got to ask, Emily, you were only months away from the Rose Parade in Pasadena. If you want to go big or go home.
Wouldn't that be a dream?
Sail it on down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe not this time.
Like maybe next year.
One day.
Emily Uchuk is a florist and owner of Wildflower Mercantile in the Comox Valley. It is Canadian Flowers Week, and there's this, as you said, maybe not a competition, but kind of a competition, kind of, to see who's got the coolest display. And this one is up in Comox by the boat launch, like you said, by the marina through the weekend if you want to check it out. Great to meet you, Emily. Good luck with this.
Thank you so much. Great chatting.
Yeah, that's so cool. And check it out. It's quite cool. I got a picture of it here, and it's a beautiful display. We'll take a break. 7 o'clock news with Lisa next.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7:01 on Friday, August 21st. Starting sunny, but by the end of today, it's going to be a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm. Full details coming up in a moment. Right now, the news begins. Here is Lisa Best.
For the second time this week, we're watching the clock tick down. 9 o'clock our time tonight, waiting to see if Canadian-American officials can hammer out a deal on the trade tariffs. They are meeting in 30 minutes' time in Washington, D.C. Dominic LeBlanc with his counterpart, Jameson Greer, will let you know what comes of that if they speak. Following another lengthy meeting in Washington yesterday, there were few hints that the deal was close, or closer to the finish line anyways. Here's Mike LeCouture.
Are you able to say anything about negotiations, Ambassador?
I am not.
It was a 3-hour meeting. the longest the two sides have sat face-to-face during these negotiations. And Minister Dominic LeBlanc attempted to reassure Canadians as the deadline approaches.
Canadians expect us to get a deal that's in the economic interest of Canada and Canadian workers. We're very close. We continue to make progress.
Three sources tell CTV News there are reductions in Section 232 tariffs on the table as part of the agreement, but it's unclear how far those levies would go down.
Meantime, there's worry that one premier's comments could potentially disrupt some of the progress. Here's Manitoba's Wab Kinew yesterday.
I think we should fight. I think we've got the upper hand. They're back on their heels right now. They're coming to us for a deal, and so I think we should fight.
CTV News chief political correspondent Vassy Kapelos explains how Ottawa officials are reacting to that.
The exact phrases used to describe what Premier Kinew said, which of course he feels is very justifiable, not helpful. The timing couldn't be worse and very frustrating. I think the bigger issue for the federal government and the negotiating team, however, is that the Premier's comments, if you look at public opinion polling, are very much in line with what Canadians think. I think this is a prime example of the challenge that lies ahead, even if a deal is signed, sealed, and delivered.
We'll let you know when we know. Some pollsters say it will take time for public opinion to catch up with stats that show crime is actually falling in this country. David Coletta with Abacus Canada says there's a perception that crime can outlast reality. So even with Stats Canada data showing falling crime rates, Canadians don't necessarily believe it. In July, Stats Canada said both the rates and severity of reported crime were down almost across the board last year. The federal Conservatives say nothing has changed, suggesting stats showing crime has increased since the Liberals were elected back in 2015. Iran is promising a devastating response to new U.S. economic sanctions.
This after the Trump administration said it plans to impose the toughest sanctions in history on Iran and economic consequences for any country that assists Iran. The chief of staff of Iran's armed forces said that with preparedness across land, sea, air defense, and cyberspace, Iran's armed forces will respond to the enemy's new threats with crushing, punishing, and devastating responses. I'm Michael Kastner.
The Canadian Conservation Institute plays a key role in helping police investigating the biggest art fraud in Canadian history. The little-known federal organization analyzed 30 paintings suspected to be fake Novel Morisot's, and not one of them ended up being real. Senior conservation scientist Jennifer Poulin says the OPP turned to the Institute decades after pieces turned up, and they quietly flooded the art market.
The OPP were involved in the investigation of interconnected crime rings from Thunder Bay and Southern Ontario, and they asked us to get involved so that we could do the scientific imaging of some of the seized paintings and the scientific analysis of the paintings to determine if they were indeed fakes.
A lot of people paid money for these fakes. Morisot, a residential school survivor raised on a reserve on the shores of Lake Nipigon in Ontario, was considered the Picasso of the North. That is your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. Have you ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet? 13% say yes. You can vote now at cfax1070.com, the iHeartRadio app, and you can tell us your story, what it was, and if you were successful at 71010. We'd love to hear that. That's your news to 706.
Good morning, everybody. We have a thunderstorm, or it's a risk of it.
Is that a question?
Yeah, kind of.
Good. Okay.
It's a chance.
Ah.
We have a risk of a thunderstorm overnight tonight with some showers rolling in, which is remarkable because I'm looking out the window right now.
That's
and maybe
nice.
if you're watching us on YouTube or CTV Vancouver Island, you can also see the harbor cam shot of just a lovely sunrise and some blue skies out there. So today's going to be taking us for a ride.
We'll start off brilliant, and then we'll just go in decline from there.
Yeah.
If you consider a storm decline. Some people look forward to the storms because we rarely ever have them.
Maybe this is going to be just a lot of excitement for your Friday night.
Could be.
It's coming. Anyways, full weather details in a moment. I'm just looking out the window going, really? This is the forecast? Well, that's what's going on in sports. Ottawa Red Blacks in the CFL still looking for that first win of the season. Another loss for them as we opened up week 12 of the CFL. The league-leading Montreal Alouettes rolled to a 46-16 victory last night. Red Blacks have lost all 10 games they've played so far this year. Winnipeg visits Edmonton tonight, and for the BC Lions, they are going to be playing on Sunday against the Rough Riders. And we got some local football, too, to tell you about, because the West Shore Rebels are underway. Their season is going. Texter 71010, Sumit let me know that they're 3-1 so far this season, and they got a game coming up tomorrow. Starlight Stadium, West Shore Rebels hosting the Okanagan Sun. So again, tomorrow, Starlight Stadium, 4 o'clock is when that game will kick off. Over to the baseball now. On the diamond, the hot streak for the Blue Jays bats continued yesterday as they hit 3 home runs en route to a 5-2 win over the Tampa Bay Rays.
And he drills the ball to left field, and it is long gone. Daz Cameron with his first home run as a Blue Jay. It is 3-1.
Welcome to the club, Daz. Oh, you talk about no doubters.
That's the call from Sportsnet. The Jays are just a half game back of that playoff spot as they head to New York for a weekend series against the Yankees that begins tonight. Hey, for the Mariners, by the way, Seattle, they are now 4 games behind the Astros in their wild card race after dropping a 7-4 decision to Milwaukee. The LA Angels also crushed Houston 18-3 last night. A very eventful baseball evening. And that is your CFAX Sports to 7:09. We'll talk about that weather forecast next.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather together at 7:10 here on a Friday morning. And the whole morning show is brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now, through August 26th, you'll receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase in-store at Thrifty Foods. On the roads, we're still looking pretty good. Friday morning has been calm. No crashes, no major delays. The volume delays actually out of the West Shore into Victoria looking very clear this morning. Yeah, happens on a Friday fairly usually. If you got any updates, though, let me know at 7:10:10. No sailing weights at BC Ferries either. So let's talk about that weather forecast. We're starting sunny. We got a high to hit 26 degrees, warmest day of the week. Humidex at 31, so very muggy. And then it's going to start clouding over. We got the humidity, but it's all ingredients for a risk of a thunderstorm, which is what's coming. A risk of a thunder shower tonight. Chance of showers otherwise lows to 14. Mainly cloudy for our Saturday with a chance of showers and that risk of a thunderstorm kind of taking us into the morning. High of 20 tomorrow and a humidex of 25. So while cooler, still kind of warm and muggy in the clouds and the possible rain. Chance of showers just kind of continuing all through the weekend. 60% chance of showers overnight Saturday, 30% chance of showers on Sunday. So we might see some scattered showers throughout the weekend here and there. Doesn't look like a big dump all through the weekend, but kind of scattered showers on and off. That's probably more what you can expect. Then it's all gone by Monday, just in time to go back to work. Right now for the for the temperatures.
Aren't you a bright ray of sunshine?
Just in time. I'm excited. I think rain is good.
Yeah, well, we like rain, yeah.
But the thunder's not so good, and I'm talking about wildfires more so. Like
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
happy to soak Vancouver Island and keep the wildfires down.
Agreed.
But then the lightning, if it happens, kind of goes the other way
Yeah,
with
it
the
sure does.
wildfires. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it all shakes out. Anyways, temperatures, what was I saying? Let's go downtown Victoria. Let's talk about that. It is 15 degrees right now. And in Langford, it is 14. Getting our first look at North American stock markets and how the trading day is shaping up. We, of course, still have all of that uncertainty about trade. The deadline tonight, second deadline in a week for those big tariffs that the U.S. president is threatening. Will they be able to finalize a trade deal before the deadline? What are the markets doing with all this going on? Well, they're going up. S&P TSX up 323 to 36,688. The Dow is up 338 to 53,098. NASDAQ up 26 to 26,093. Canadian dollar at 72.7 cents U.S. It has continued to climb as well over the last few days.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
CFAX News Poll question asking, did you ever attempt to keep a wild animal as a pet? We've got this listener at 71010, Dawn, saying, good morning. I raised a robin and a crow and then released them into Beacon Hill Park. Lots of poop and feathers in the basement. I had to dig for worms, and Mom would feed them some bread soaked in milk. I still remember my mom saying, that's it. No more birds. No more snakes. No more anything that's wild. That sounds like a mom that's had to deal with a young boy trying to keep wild animals as pets.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, yeah, bringing a snake in or bringing, I don't know, a rodent in.
Yep.
It happens.
Texter at 71010 says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa. When my brother and I were about 5 or 6, we decided we wanted to keep grasshoppers as pets. So naturally, we put them in a little box beside our bed.
Yeah.
Being the brilliant young scientists that we were, we figured the only thing missing was ventilation. So we poked a bunch of tiny holes in the box so the grasshoppers could breathe.
Okay.
Genius, right? Says the texter.
Sure.
Carries
Did
on.
they get out?
Well, sometime in the middle of the night, our pet staged a full-scale prison break. We woke up to grasshoppers jumping around, and somehow several had managed to make it into our noses? What?
Okay.
Your nose?
Well, if they see it as somewhere to go to be safe.
So you woke up to like a grasshopper trying to get into your nose? That is amazing. There's nothing, I'm going to keep reading. There is nothing quite like waking up at 2 a.m. with a grasshopper trying to establish residency in your nasal cavity. Needless to say, our careers in the pet grasshopper industry ended that night. We never looked at a cardboard box or a grasshopper the same way again.
Wow.
That is a fantastic story.
Stuff of nightmares. I know that people on the beach occasionally have had crustaceans crawl into their ears, because it looks like something that somewhere they could hide from predators. But ew.
Yeah, that's a well-written story, though.
Thanks for sharing, we think. Yeah.
Texter at 71010 also says, my brother kept a baby crow he named Ebony until someone scattered it away with a big piece of pampas grass. Saved a couple baby rabbits from our cats.
Okay.
One was raised and released when it was big enough to fight the cats. One got out of the cage and fulfilled its destiny to be cat food, though. Trying to keep baby rabbits and you got a bunch of cats in the house.
That doesn't work.
I could see that being
it's a bad combo.
conflict.
Yeah.
I love these stories. Listeners letting us know about the time they tried to keep wild animals as pets. The moral of the story is it's not advisable. We'll keep talking about...
Even slugs, right?
I had snails.
Oh, snails.
Yeah, I'm sure I did weirder things, too.
That's slugs, or that's snails without a home, right?
I caught lizards once, too. Or newts or something.
Just try to catch those lizards now.
Yeah.
They're fast.
7:16. Let's get to the headlines. What's going on, Lisa?
Well, since we're talking wild animals, BC Conservation Service says it responded to another bear attack in Metro Vancouver earlier this week. A woman and her dog injured in this one. It says in the social media post that the confrontation happened Monday on the back deck of the woman's property in Anmore. The service said she has non-life-threatening injuries, adding that the bear had left by the time officers arrived. They're now trying to track that. The encounter follows another case in Metro Vancouver earlier this month when a 3-year-old girl was attacked by a black bear on the back deck of her home in Maple Ridge. Further north in Alaska, the U.S. military says that charter aircraft carrying 8 that went off radar in western Alaska on Thursday, killed all on board. The crash happened near Cape Newenham a long-range radar site airport approximately 450 miles west of Anchorage. Clint Johnson with the National Transportation Safety Board said earlier that 2 pilots and 6 passengers were on board. The Federal Aviation Administration says the plane had taken off from Anchorage and crashed early Thursday afternoon west of the Cape. And nearly 6 months into the war led by the U.S., food, medicine, everything except heavily subsidized gasoline has become far more costly in the country of Iran. The Middle East nation economy is taking a beating from the sanctions and also the ongoing naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Unemployment is soaring. People with jobs are working more hours, yet earning less than they did a year ago. Some experts are skeptical that intensifying economic pressure will translate into military or political concessions from Iran anytime soon. They say that the U.S. president may be underestimating how long Iran can actually hold out. And that is your news to 718.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, with the wildfires still a situation in BC, we've got a Simon Fraser University professor of political science and with the Clean Energy Research Group joining us next with a bit of a thought experiment. He was looking into the costs of fighting wildfires that we are dealing with right now and comparing them to the gas royalty revenues collected in roughly the same period.
Okay.
I kind of see where he's going here. You know, as BC continues to develop natural gas and, you know, Canada continues to try to make money off of oil and gas, does it balance out with the costs of climate change? This seems to be the argument that's being made here. Let's break it down. We've got the professor joining us next. Hey, it's 7:20 on this Friday morning. The commute is looking very clear. If you see a problem, text me at 71010. Or if it's just looking way better than usual, you can text me at 71010 and just let me know how things are shaping up this morning. For BC Ferries, no sailing waits. And for the weather, that's where things get exciting because we're starting off pretty pleasant. Sunny, highs of 26, humidex of 31. Actually, quite a warm, humid day. That's why this weather forecast is heading towards clouds, and with all that humidity and heat in the air, a risk of a thunderstorm overnight tonight. So chance of showers coming in tonight with maybe some lightning. That part's just a chance, but the conditions are coming together that way. Lows down to 14 overnight. Then the risk of a thunderstorm kind of goes into the morning a bit tomorrow, and we will see a chance of showers stretching through the weekend. It still even stays a bit warmer and humid for Saturday, even though it's cloudy with this chance of showers and a thunderstorm. Still quite warm. Cools off a bit more on Sunday, though, with that chance of showers continuing.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa. on CFAX 1070.
How much has BC spent on fighting wildfires versus how much are we making from natural gas revenues? That's a comparison our next guest is making. Andy Hira is a Simon Fraser University professor of political science. He's also with the Clean Energy Research Group. Thanks for joining us today, and good to talk to you again.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to get into the numbers and hear about what you're doing here, but let's just start with the premise here. It seems like this is the goal of this. Is this to say, like, hey, as BC continues to try to develop our natural gas resources and make money off of that, if that feeds into climate change, what are the costs of dealing with the climate change effects, i.e. the wildfires? Is that the point here?
That's a starting point, yeah. But I think in general, we need to take a step back and start to think about whether we want to pour the planned $8 billion plus subsidies into oil and gas. Is that really an appropriate and investment in one that will pay off in the long run? And what we see, in fact, is we're feeding the wildfires on the one hand through our greenhouse gas emissions while simultaneously trying to put them out with public monies. So it really is a very contradictory kind of policy.
Well, but I guess it's for some people, it's hard to draw that direct connection to, hey, the BC wildfires are happening, but whether or not BC develops its natural gas royalties, will that really make any difference? So shouldn't we try to make the money? Like I hear that argument all the time.
Well, I can tell you, for example, in 2024, 2025, oil and gas royalties were approximately $724 million, and wildfire suppression costs were $769.4. And undoubtedly, this year will be, way above what the royalties are. So if you're actually losing more money from oil and gas emissions, why would you continue them? And particularly, why would you put public subsidies into them? We can think about any number of sectors that are affected by wildfires: forestry, fishing, agriculture for sure. Just think about all the crops in the Okanagan that are going to be knocked back by all these wildfires now. Why aren't those sectors getting money? Why is oil and gas the only sector that's getting huge amounts of taxpayer money?
Talk about the numbers you found. So you've already broken a few of them down, but what are the costs that you've tallied versus the royalties you've tallied?
So it varies from year to year, right? Because it depends on the price of natural gas and it depends on the level of wildfire, expenditures. But increasingly over the last decade, wildfires suppressions is costing a lot more than the royalties that are coming in through oil and gas. And what you see is this trend where the last 2 or 3 years, in fact, it's exceeding the amount of royalties. So we're in this trend as greenhouse gas emissions get worse, wildfires increase, and increasingly we're spending more on wildfire management than we are getting money from oil and gas. And if we take the PBO's estimate for the overall cost of climate change and we compare them to the total income, my calculations for the report that's going to be coming out in September are that the costs of climate change are at least 4 times higher than all of the oil and gas revenues together for BC, and for the federal government about 5.3 times higher. So this is from the government's own estimates about the overall cost of climate change.
So I got a text message here from a listener who's expressing what I was kind of mentioning earlier, saying, hey, gas emissions are under BC gas emissions are under 2% of global emissions, says the texter. Kind of getting into that question of if BC changes course and say BC decides, okay, no more natural gas, that we got to keep these emissions down. It's a drop in the ocean compared to the rest of the world and what it's doing. So why should BC even bother? You get that sentiment a lot, and I'm seeing it here on the text machine. Why do you think these numbers would convince somebody otherwise?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really important point, but the most important argument that we're going to make in the report coming up is there are better payoffs for our public investments. First of all, we're going to need to put some of that money into climate change mitigation, all the damages that the wildfires are creating. But second of all, we have any number of economic sectors that could produce more income and more jobs without all the environmental destruction. It could be biotech. It could be software, it could be IT, it could be financial tech, any number of sectors that are just starving for capital that could grow up into major companies and provide employment for BC. So my question is really about what is the best payoff for our public subsidies? And I don't think oil and gas are it. It creates, I think, Coastal GasLink pipeline for LNG Canada Phase 1 created like 350 construction jobs. And the overall number of jobs might be about 3,000. That's just a drop in the bucket in terms of the kinds of jobs that you're creating per dollar that you're investing into that sector. So my point is really just let's invest in sectors that are going to grow employment in the long run. And the reason why oil and gas are going to fade in the long run is because you have got a huge glut of supply coming onto the market. And other countries like China and Europe are actually moving away from oil and gas, in part because of this Iran crisis. So renewable energy is competitive with fossil fuels, and EVs are competitive with gas cars. So it's a no-brainer. Most of the world is moving away from oil and gas, and we're going to be stuck with all these stranded assets. Why would we keep investing in something that is a declining industry?
Interesting. If people want to find out more, can they find this paper and some of the cost comparisons you've done?
Yeah, I'm going to release it around the first Clean Energy Research Group meeting on September 10th, and they can contact me if they want a copy of it. It'll be available probably at the beginning of September. My email address is ahrira@sfu.ca. They can find me on the SFU Political Science website, and they'll have all the detailed numbers and estimates right in front of them.
Andy Hira, political economist and director of Simon Fraser University's Clean Energy Research Group. Thank you so much for sharing some of your research so far, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a break right now. 7:30 News next on CFAX.
CFAX, Santa's Anonymous.
Hey, grown-ups, you know, the ones still kids at heart.
Through the Kids Count Children's Grant Program powered by CFAX Santa's Anonymous, local kids are getting help with summer camp fees, food security, and mental wellness support.
Where do you see kids needing the most support?
Access to healthy, fresh food through the summer.
Visit CFAXSantas.com right now and give directly to the cause that matters most to you.
Kids Count.
Powered by CFAX Santa's Anonymous.
To find out how you can help, visit CFAXSantas.com. CFAX Victoria,
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7:30 on this Friday, August 21st, starting with some sunshine, clouding over as we go, and then a risk of a thunder shower overnight tonight. We'll get you the full forecast in just a moment. Right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Thank you. A closure to know about this weekend that'll affect Dallas Road. Triathlon Canada hosting that Super Sprint and Relay National Championships this weekend. VicPD are saying that temporary road closures will be in effect along a portion of Dallas both Saturday and Sunday. This shouldn't affect foot or cycling traffic, but the road will be closed. Dallas Road will be closed between Cook Street and Memorial Crescent, and that includes the Clover Loop Point Clover Point Loop. Traffic detours in place from 7 till 1 each day. The Clover Point Loop expected to reopen around 3 on Sunday afternoon. Something else you noticed down on the beach, the City of Victoria has installed numbered signs at key locations to access points between Ogden Point and Gonzales Park to allow for faster response in the case of emergencies. 19 tall, slim, black and lime green posts identify the location with big numbers, as well as a list of do and don'ts at that particular location. Some of those include leash requirements, fire and alcohol rules, and what to expect if you're going swimming or on the water in that area. West Shore RCMP say a single vehicle collision in Colwood midweek led to a drug trafficking investigation. Witness called police just before 9 Wednesday night saying a pickup truck was doing burnouts before hitting a telephone pole at Island Highway and Whale Road. Police say the 53-year-old driver who was using a suspended license. The search of the pickup turned up about 220 grams of suspected meth, 98 grams of suspected cocaine, and various drug paraphernalia. The driver faces several charges, and the pickup truck was impounded. Police say the investigation continues. A Port Alberni man has been sentenced to 22 years in prison after being convicted of sexual offenses. RCMP say Sean Patter was sentenced on August 11th after being convicted of 1 count of sexual interference involving a person under the age of 14, 2 involving persons under 16, and 1 count of sexual assault. Oak Bay police are investigating the theft of over $6,000 worth of jewelry. It was reported missing following an open house earlier this month on August 12th. Police believe the jewelry was stolen while members of the public were touring the home. Police say open houses can create opportunities for theft with large numbers of people moving through the residence at once. They're reminding homeowners to remove and secure jewelry, cash, financial documents, medication keys, any other valuables while you're hosting an open house. Think art in that department too. Oak Bay Police have responded to 87 calls for service this week, including that jewelry theft. Going to the U.S., maybe you went, maybe you're not going at all. Despite our ongoing spat with our American cousins, Stats Canada says the number of cross-border trips from both sides went up again in the month of June. CTV's Maria Sora has details.
More Americans are traveling north. Visits were up just over 6% from last year, marking the 5th straight month of growth. At the same time, more Canadians are going south. Return trips rose 5%, continuing a 3-month turnaround.
There's a bit of a thawing, I would say. We're more open to it. I think just a feeling that we're missing out of all these great attractions and activities in the US.
I want to go sometimes to New York.
Others aren't convinced.
I wouldn't do it in a million years. There's no real reason to go down south at the moment.
As the UK public continues to respond to news of Harry and Meghan's return, we're learning new details on the royal couple's move.
Prince Harry was seen in Washington, D.C. Wednesday night, meeting with veterans, but he didn't address the upcoming move. According to The Telegraph, the couple, along with their 7-year-old Prince Archie and 5-year-old Princess Lilibet, plan to move later this month to a private, non-royal residence outside London. The children are already enrolled in British schools for September.
And Mark Zuckerberg has bought himself a castle. It's in Ireland. The billionaire tech CEO buying a property close to his company's Irish office and has just purchased a castle near Meta's international headquarters located in Dublin. The Guardian estimates the nearly 2-century-old Waterford County castle cost him between $23 and $35 million US. That's your news to 7:35. Your CFAX 1070 News poll question. We're asking, have you ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet? 13% saying yes. You can vote now at cfax1070.com. Also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, News Time, 7:36.
Oh, Lisa, I got another text here on the topic of our news poll.
Okay.
This is a twist. This is a bit different. It's not keeping them as a pet, it's selling them. When my daughter was in grade 2, so here's the age we're talking about, grade 2.
Right.
I got a call from her school. She was taking snails from our fish pond and then selling them to her friends at school as pets for 25 cents each.
Wow, that's entrepreneurial.
I love it.
I like it.
That's a good twist on the pet
As
story.
long as it wasn't lunch.
So, yeah. 7-10-10. Let us know if you got any stories that go along with our news poll about misadventures in keeping wild animals as pets. By the way, CFAX morning show here brought to you by CUPE, Vancouver Island, working to deliver the public services island communities rely on. CUPE, better services, better communities. What's going on in the wide world of sports? I should mention that's a big lacrosse day again. It's been that all week with both the Victoria Shamrocks and the Junior A Shamrocks in these great contests. So let's talk about Victoria Shamrocks first, the Senior Shamrocks. Game 4 goes tonight versus the Coquitlam Adnacks over on the mainland. Now, Coquitlam took the series lead in the last game, Game 3. So they lead 2-1. Still anybody's series, but Victoria Shamrocks trying to get back into it tonight. Now, the Junior A Shamrocks are in the Minto Cup final, as we talked about, and that is kicking into that best-of-3 final series tonight in Calgary. Junior Shamrocks versus the Raiders. Those are the final teams, so that's getting underway. And we're going to be talking about all this lacrosse in just a moment because Chris Welsh, general manager of the Victoria Shamrocks, will be joining us in literally just a couple of minutes here to set up this game and talk about what the Shamrocks need to do to kind of even up their series. We'll get to that, but right now, just a quick look at some of the other sports. Locally, we got the West Shore Rebels football team hosting Okanagan Sun tomorrow. Starlight Stadium, 4 p.m. is the game time. Rebels 3-1 so far on the season, and thanks again to Sumit, who passed on that detail for me. And for the CFL, for that football, league-leading Montreal Alouettes rolling to a 46-16 victory in the Week 12 opener last night. Red Blacks haven't won a game yet this season. It was another loss. Winnipeg visiting Edmonton tonight, and then the BC Lions live on CFAX Sunday against the Rough Riders. And for baseball, Blue Jays... They took the rubber match in their series against the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, winning a series at Tropicana Field for what was the first time since 2023. Shane Bieber went 7 innings, allowing just 1 run in the 5-1 win, and spoke after the game about how the team has found some momentum.
It feels like it's showing up more as of late, the fight that this team has. Feeling like we're in every ball game. That's the identity of this team. That's the identity that we've fought really hard, even through that first half, to maintain. And I think it's showing up right now.
Jays remain a half game back of a wild card spot, and that's your CFAX Sports to 7:39. Shamrocks Lacrosse Chat next. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. By the way, the whole morning show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. If you need a cab, download the new Bluebird Cabs app. It's at Bluebird Cabs LTD. Look for the LTD attached to the word, the letters LTD. They're proudly local, Canadian owned and run since 1946. On the roads, it's clear. And I have a very funny text message here. This texter says, after hearing you talk about there being no traffic issues for so long, are you going to take September 8th off? Because the transition from no traffic to the back-to-school nightmare might be too much for you. Just looking out for your well-being. That's from Ron. Yeah, it has been quite quiet, and I've been trying to specify that the summer traffic is not normal. So if I say it, things are looking good comparatively speaking for summer traffic, it's because, as the texter pointed out, once September rolls around, it's going back to normal. But yeah, right now though, summer levels of commuting. It's very, very light out there. For the weather forecast, that's where things get spicy because we got sunshine to start, but then we're going to get into some clouds. Then we're going to get into a risk of a thunder shower tonight. Maybe some rain, maybe some lightning. Those are possibilities overnight tonight and carrying into part of tomorrow, with a chance of showers stretching through the whole week, and then back to some sun and cloud for Monday. Temperature-wise, warmest day of the week. That's still playing out here. We got a high of 26, a humidex of 31 expected. Right now at the Victoria International Airport, the official temperature is 15. On the markets, everything is up today. Dow Jones Industrials up 414 points to 53,173. The Canadian dollar, or I should say the S&P TSX up 216 to 36,582, and the Canadian dollar at 72.6 cents US.
Let's get started. Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
After a narrow 5-4 loss to Coquitlam on Wednesday, the senior Shamrocks are getting set for Game 4 of the WLA Championship Series back in Coquitlam tonight. With the Shamrocks down, the Adnacks have a 2-1 series lead. Can we get back into it tonight? Let's talk to General Manager Chris Welsh for a few moments to set this thing up. Great to talk to you again. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. Doing well, thank you.
So heading into tonight, how high are the stakes? How's everybody feeling?
Everybody's feeling,
Hey, General Manager Chris Welsh, you just broke up there. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you. You got me now?
I got you now. Sorry, you disappeared for a second. I'll blame the phone gremlins. But take it away again. Talk about the stakes heading into tonight.
Yeah, TELUS reception in Fairfield has suddenly become an issue. So for tonight, we got to recapture, home floor advantage. They took it away from us in our own building. Anytime you hold a team to 5 goals, 99 times out of 100, you're going to win the game. But that wasn't the case for us the other night, unfortunately. Having a hard time beating a pretty good goaltender at the other end, Christian Del Bianco. We put 59 shots on him. So we got to find a way to bury the ball in the net tonight and, get home floor advantage back and make it a best of 3.
Do you have to change strategy at all when you're faced with a goaltender like that?
I think you just have to keep working really hard and maybe try a couple of things up front. I think, we have a lot of offensive weapons, so there's some tricks still in the bag that maybe are still to come, but they better show up quick here because we don't want to go in a 3-1 hole.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, they're leading it, but it's anybody's series still with a 2-1 series lead for Coquitlam. Although if you lose it tonight and it goes to a 3-1 series lead, that's where it starts to get scary.
Yeah, you don't want to go. You want to give yourself a chance to coast along, and but the other team is there to make it difficult, and Coquitlam is certainly doing that. They're worked very hard, and they've got great goaltending, and they've got some young junior call-ups who are fitting into their lineup extremely well, and they're on a roll, and we've got to step our game up tonight and stop their roll and get control of the series back.
All right, it's tonight in Coquitlam, the Shamrocks versus the Adnacks. Either way, there will be a game number 5 back at the Q Center on Sunday, so watch out for that if you want to see some more Shamrocks lacrosse locally. But also, people can watch the away game online, can't they?
Yeah, they can go to the EWLA website and follow the links there. There's pay-per-view webcasts by Trickshot Media, and Tino Farrow will be on the call tonight. Always does a really good job, and so it's well worth a look.
There we go. Chris Welsh, General Manager of the Victoria Shamrocks. It's great lacrosse coming up again tonight on the mainland, back at the Q Center on Sunday, and we'll chat again soon. Good luck tonight.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Ryan.
Righto. Okay, so it's 7:46 now. Time for the news. Here's Lisa.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning. Police in Port Alberni say a man's been sentenced to 22 years in prison for historical sexual offences over the several years in the Vancouver Island community. Police say Sean Patter was sentenced last week after being convicted of crimes including sexual interference and sexual assault. The publication ban prevents the release of any information that could identify the victims in the case. RCMP said the delicate nature of the case required dedication and skill from investigators to best present the case to court. A twin-engine plane making an emergency landing on a road in Prince George yesterday, crashing into two vehicles and scattering debris, including the prop, which broke off. RCMP say one person inside one of the vehicles died. They say potential injuries are among the occupants of the plane as well, but they're not currently known to what extent. The Transportation Safety Board say investigators are expected to arrive in that city today to determine what happened. And experts say there's a growing scam you should be aware about if you're shopping for a used vehicle. It's called VIN cloning. It happens when criminals copy the vehicle ID number or VIN from a legitimate vehicle and place it on the stolen or damaged one. The practice can make the car appear clean on paper, even if it has a hidden history. IC Cars reports buyers may not learn they've purchased the cloned vehicle until police actually seize it and an insurance claim is denied or registration problems arise. Experts recommend comparing VIN numbers in multiple locations on a vehicle and checking history reports before making that purchase. They say deals that seem too good to be true often deserve closer examination before you make the plunge. And that's your news to 7:48.
Lacey, do you remember the story that stirred a bit of controversy with a survivalist school that was being pitched for East Souk Park? And it was a really curious thing to learn. I didn't know this, but as we dived into the story and figured out how this was even a thing, we learned that East Souk Park, which is a capital region park, has like a weird sliver of land within it that isn't CRD Park. It's actually provincial crown land. It's just an odd little carve out. And being provincial crown land, it was up for a proposal. It didn't mean it was going to get passed, but there was this thing called the One with Nature Survival and Bushcraft School that had said, hey, this is a provincial crown land. You're allowed to apply to do things there, so I want to apply to do a nature school there.
Fair enough.
It's been turned down by the province. That's the update here, so that it won't go forward. The province has said no. But we wanted to just follow up on this because it was quite an interesting story when we first heard about it a little while ago. So the founder and head instructor with this One with Nature Survival and Bushcraft School, Svetaly Svetlichny, who we spoke to back when he was first pitching it, is going to join us for the follow-up here. So that's in just a moment after traffic and weather.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. 40 years of Fringe magic. Experience Victoria Fringe Festival, August 26th through September 6th. Feel the roar at Pacific FC. Get your soccer tickets today at cplsoccer.com. West Shore Swap Shop and Market is at Rally at Royal Bay every Sunday. Support Goldstream Food Bank with a $2 admission or a food donation. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now, through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase in store at Thrifty Foods. Roads look clear right now. No major crashes. Very light volume delays out of the West Shore right now. Things are good. BC Ferries, no sailing waits, although the 8 o'clock sailing is 92% full, but it's leaving in 8 minutes. I think everybody's getting on that one. And then for the weather forecast, sunny to start, increasing clouds into the afternoon with a risk of a thunderstorm coming tonight. The overnight forecast also featuring a 40% chance of showers. Temperature-wise today, it's very humid and warm. We got a high of 26, a humidex of 31. A kind of warm, muggy, cloudy condition, certainly leading towards that risk of a thunderstorm tonight. Tomorrow, the risk of a thunderstorm is with us in the morning. Otherwise, it's a chance of showers for both Saturday and Sunday. And right now in Victoria, it's 15 degrees. Well, at least that's the temperature at the airport. A little warmer in some places. At the University of Victoria in Saanich, it's already almost 19.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Yeah, the news is the province has turned down the idea of that nature survivalist school in the middle of East Sooke Park, a Capital Regional District park, but a little piece of it, a little corner of the park is actually provincial crown land, which is why this happened. And we learned that story when we talked to the founder and the head instructor with this school. It's One with Nature Survival and Bushcraft School. We spoke to him back when this was a proposal, and now that we're at this stage of the story, we wanted to reach back out and follow up. So Vitaly Svetlichny is joining us on the line. Sir, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I guess the application did not go the way you'd hoped. You applied to the province to use this piece of crown land in the middle of the park for the school, and it sounds like they've turned it down. Can you give us the update on what happened?
Yeah, there's province's decision-making process, and we just follow it, and we get refusal. So naturally, I kind of disappointed with the outcome. I invested nearly 4 years into developing this proposal because I truly believe outdoor education save lives and help people enjoy wilderness safely and responsibly. However, at the same time, I respect the province's decision-making process. My mission has never been about owning a particular piece of land. It has always been about educating people, and that mission continues.
Yeah, I remember you told us about this when we spoke to you earlier in the process. You were telling us that this wasn't you trying to restrict access to any bit of East Sooke Park. There just happened to be this crown land there where you wanted to run the school, but it's not like you're going to fence it off and keep people out of it. At least that was what you told us. But in the end, I guess it was turned down. What was there any reason? Did the province say the reason why they said no?
The reason is very strong opposition, and there's a decision-making paper, and just listed all reasons for rejection, and it's available online.
Okay, so you can check it out there. Yeah, and you said some disappointment on your part after putting all of that effort into this over 4 years. Are you feeling a little bit like maybe there should have been some information before you started this process about where this might have gone, or how are you feeling now that you're at the end of all that effort?
So as I said, naturally I'm disappointed. However, I still believe every community has the right to decide what kind of projects it wants nearby. It's clear that this location wasn't the right fit. Rather than continuing a long conflict, I would rather focus my time and energy on finding a community that shares our vision of outdoor education, environmental stewardship, and prevention. Like, you can't win wildfire when it's going strong and everywhere, but you can prevent it. And this is our main mission, and I don't kind of focusing on frustration. I'm focusing on continuing my mission.
So you are hoping to do this somewhere else. Where do you think you might try to take it next?
Absolutely. Like, going forward, I would like to find a location where a local government, nearby residents, and First Nations all see value in what we're trying to accomplish. Projects like this work best when they're built in cooperation rather than conflict. And you may ask, but you saw the opposition at the beginning. Yes, you always have opposition. This decision doesn't change the mission of One with Nature. We will continue teaching wilderness survival, bushcraft, navigation, and environmental stewardship. The only thing that changes is where we eventually build our permanent home.
And do you think, did you have any idea of where that might be?
I have a couple options, but I want to make sure that all local government, nearby residents, and First Nations all kind of accepting and follow, kind of share the same values.
Do you think going through this process here at East Souk Park will help you with the next one? Do you think you've learned some lessons that'll help make the next one a success?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Looking back, I don't regret submitting the application at all. It has been almost 4 years of learning about Crown land, environmental planning, consultation, and working with many different organizations. Whether the answer is yes or no, you learn by trying, right? If you never try to build something worthwhile, you will never build anything at all. So I don't regret. I learn a lot, and I think it only will help us in the future.
Actually, sounds like it's in keeping with the spirit of what you teach in the school, just a different application for it.
Exactly. Say, as I say, the mission is still the same. Teaching people and educating, as I said in the first interview, in the first discussion, we try to focus on educating people who doesn't have access to the land. It's not about landowners who has tons of land. They have land to practice. But what about urban people who is living in the city and they don't have access to the land? But eventually, sooner or later, they just go on in the wilderness and they do some mistakes. They're facing serious challenges with wildlife. And why? Not because some people say, oh, they're doing these stupid actions. It's not about stupidity. They just don't have experience. And if organizations like we are is not giving them the chance to improve their skills, there will be more and more problems, more and more wildfires. So I believe that prevention is the best solution.
Well, we'll see where it goes from here. Founder and head instructor, One with Nature Survival and Bushcraft School, Vitaly Svetlichny, is talking to us. Thanks so much for giving us the update, and good luck with the future of trying it again somewhere else.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
Have a good day.
There we go. Yeah, and there's the update. I guess the bottom line is the province said no. And I think for a lot of folks, I mean, there was a ton of opposition from locals, from the CRD itself, from First Nations in the area, which made sense, right? I think there
was a knee-jerk reaction to what? There's a piece of land there that's not protected as Crown land?
Yeah, and I think that was the thing. Like, for this, I always felt bad for him because we spoke to him the first time. Like, it definitely felt like he's a guy who didn't quite realize. Like, I think if you're a local here, you kind of know that this is never going to be allowed in the middle of a park.
He saw it available.
But as far as he was concerned, it was just like, oh, hey, there's some Crown land here. Right. There's this process for applying to do things on Crown land. I'm doing all the things right.
He did.
He wasn't trying to cause a huge hornet's nest of opposition,
and he wasn't
which he did.
trying to slide one in on the, over the public's.
It seemed innocent enough, but it was obvious that it was never going to happen, and it's almost sort of too bad that he got led along this path.
He spent so much time working on it in order for it to turn out that way. But what a positive attitude, because he just said he's learned from the opportunity to actually apply for it and go through the process. So he's coming out stronger in the end.
I'm going to close with this text message at 7:10:10. I live in East Souk, says the texter, and I am over the moon about the decision not to allow the use of the land for this school. The person trying to do it can talk till he's blue in the face. We don't want it. It put the park and surrounding area at risk of fire, and it's invasive to the natural setting of the park. And texter, that's exactly, I think, the overwhelming response that the government heard, and they obviously made the decision that I think makes a lot of sense to everybody, you included. It was interesting. I never realized there was this weird, that it wasn't all CRD Park, that there's a little sliver of provincial Crown land in the middle for just reasons of history and fascinating stuff. But we'll leave it there. We got the 8 o'clock news coming up next with Lisa.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 8:03 on this Friday, August 21st. Risk of a thunder shower coming tonight, but right now we're getting into some blue sky. It's, let's see, what's the temperature? It's 18 degrees already at the airport. We're warming up quick into what will be the warmest day of the week. More on the weather to come. Right now, the news begins. Here's Lisa.
For the second time this week, we're counting down the hours till that tariff deadline happens at 9 tonight, our time, midnight Eastern. Dominic LeBlanc currently in another meeting with his U.S. counterpart, Jameson Greer, over the details of what this agreement might look like. Canadian-American officials are working to get this trade deal limping across the finish line. Former federal cabinet minister and member of the Canadian-U.S. Advisory Council, Lisa Raitt, weighs in.
It's so tough to read whether or not this is a good deal or not a good deal because we're speculating, like, what is Premier Ford going to say? What did Webb Canoe say yesterday and why? And you just kind of get caught up in the soap opera of it all. The reality is that we needed to avoid those Section 338 tariffs from hitting. That's a good thing.
Good point about soap opera. We'll hear from Royal Roads University Communications and Culture Professor David Black in a few minutes. He'll be live with us talking about the drama and the pearl clutching and all the details surrounding the ongoing tariff war negotiations as things heat up and we approach the 11th hour again. Included with this is Wab Canoe's no-filter comments making news stateside.
The Premier of Manitoba is urging Canada to keep fighting rather than rush to make concessions in trade talks with the United States. And he's telling Canadians not to buy U.S. alcohol if a trade deal results in it being put back on Canadian store shelves.
We don't like Donald Trump's approach to trade or his way of treating Canada. Very wise people have said you can't get a good deal with a bad person. And I think that rule applies here.
Audio courtesy of CTV. Canoe says President Donald Trump is erratic, irresponsible, and not to be trusted. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is trying to secure a deal with the U.S. that would avert threatened 50% U.S. tariffs. Canada's federal minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade says his country and the U.S. are close to finalizing an agreement. I'm Donna Warder.
We'll keep you posted what comes next out of that meeting. A twin-engine plane making an emergency landing on a road in Prince George yesterday before crashing into two vehicles and scattering debris, including the prop which came off the flight. RCMP say one person inside one of the vehicles has died and others are injured. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada says investigators are being deployed to that city. They're expected to arrive today to do the investigation. Federal officials in Alaska say there's no survivors of a small plane crash there.
A small plane went down in a remote area in the western part of the state yesterday afternoon, and we now know all 8 people on board were killed. The military says it was a civilian contracted aircraft and called it a devastating loss. The names of the passengers and 2 pilots have not yet been released.
The plane was headed to Cape Newham long-range radar site. It was about 450 kilometers from Alaska. The NTSB is now investigating. It was moving from Anchorage. Alberta's tech minister facing a firing line of fury from residents at the government's second town hall on plans for that AI data center. Nate Gublish was peppered with profanity from members at Redwater at the meeting. Attendees raising environmental concerns, demanding specifics on safeguards.
How do we trust this government when they'll use any means to break their promises? They'll use notwithstanding clauses. They will use orders of council to release land. The mayor will go behind and change bylaws, zoning laws, behind everyone's back, and then have a public hearing at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday when no one's there. How can we trust you guys when you constantly lie and show us how slimy you are?
Tech giant Meta announcing plans to build a $13 billion AI data center project in the region. That's your news to 8:07. Your C5 1070 news poll question today. Have you ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet? 14% are saying yes. You can share your story at 71010. Also, you can vote at cfax1070.com. Also, the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:08.
Lisa, the final pair of Guns N' Roses tickets are going to be given away in moments.
Okay.
We've been giving away pairs all this week because Guns N' Roses are coming to BC Place Stadium not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So it's really soon. Do you have plans for that next weekend?
Don't. Go to this.
If you don't, we want you to win tickets. But we're going to do one more singing karaoke moment for the tickets. If you want to call 250-386-1161 in just a moment, and if we take your call randomly, sing us some Axl Rose, sing us your best Guns N' Roses. Yesterday's with Michael, by the way, he knocked it out of the park.
Was that incredible?
It was an amazing rendition of Sweet Child of Mine. I couldn't believe how much he really channeled Axl there. Be like
He's
Michael.
going to the show. If Axl gets a sore throat,
I was saying
Michael's in.
I was saying they got to stand it right here.
Right?
Give us a call in a few moments. We'll give away one last pair. One last pair for the morning show because Josh and Jade are also giving away Guns N' Roses tickets in the afternoon. So don't miss the Josh and Jade show 3 to 6 in the afternoons. Right now, before we get to there, over to the sports, lots of Shamrocks lacrosse. We were just talking to Chris Walsh, general manager of the Victoria Shamrocks, who was telling us they're really hoping to crack a tough goaltender with the Coquitlam Adanacs in Game 4 coming up tonight on the mainland because they dropped Game 3 on Wednesday at the Q Center. So now the Adanacs are up 2-1. It's no big problem until they go down 3-1, according to Chris Welsh. So they're hoping to kind of even things up tonight. So that's coming up. Then the Junior A Shamrocks at the Minto Cup. They're going to start the final series, the best of 3 against the Calgary. Against the Raiders of Calgary. So that's coming up tonight at the Minto Cup. Lots of lacrosse happening. West Shore Rebels football team, as we're talking local sports, hosting the Okanagan Sun tomorrow at Starlight Stadium. Heads up, that's coming up. 4 o'clock start. Rebels 3-1 in the season so far. And over to the Blue Jays. They got momentum on their side as they visit New York this evening for the opener of a 3-game series. Toronto beat Tampa Bay 5-1 yesterday for their 7th series win in a row. The Jays are a half game behind Minnesota in that battle for the 3rd wild card spot in the American League. Seattle, by the way, Seattle Mariners are 4 games behind in their wild card race as they dropped a 7-4 decision to Milwaukee yesterday. All right, that's your sports. We're giving away Guns N' Roses tickets next. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. There are no major crashes or problems on the roads. We've got light volume delays out of the West Shore. Things are looking good. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. The weather's where things get interesting because we've got a sunny start to the day, but clouds rolling in this afternoon. Highs at 26, humidex at 31, so warm, muggy day today. Leading in a chance of a thunderstorm tonight, 40% chance of showers otherwise. Lows down to 14. Tomorrow, still a risk of a thunderstorm kind of earlier in the day. Still a chance of showers, which is going to last right through the weekend. And still kind of warm and muggy tomorrow. Not quite as much as today. Today's the warmest one. But still a bit of that humidity in the air with the chance of showers tomorrow. Chance of showers for Sunday clears up in time for Monday. Right now, for the temperatures, we're warming up quick into the day. It's 18 degrees at the airport. On the markets, S&P TSX in Toronto up 202 points to 36,568. The Dow is up 348 to 53,107. NASDAQ is up 49 to 26,117. And the Canadian dollar at 72.6 cents U.S. It's time for Guns N' Roses karaoke.
All right.
For the tickets to see them at BC Place Stadium.
Okay, we're ready.
So call 250-386-1161. That's 250-386-1161. I'm about to take a random caller, and that caller's going to have to sing for their tickets. You can sing this song if you want to. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. This is the last pair of tickets, and I'm just about to pick a random button, and I don't know what's the right button.
Choose wisely.
Like, who's it going to be?
What number?
Who's it going to be? Oh, that one. Who's this? Hello?
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 Are you there?
Hello?
No one was there.
We hear noise. You gotta say something.
Hello? Oh, yeah, you're there. Hello, it's you. It's you.
Hello?
It is.
Yeah, it's you.
Who is this?
What's your name?
This is Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Jason, you got through. It sounds like you didn't know what to do when you got on the phone.
I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, it's ringing. It was very shocking.
Okay.
And you know what's the most shocking is now you have to sing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never made it through on these things. So
okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you did this time. So you know the setup. You got to just give us anything from Guns N' Roses. You could sing it with the closest Axl Rose impersonation possible, or you could give us a little Shatner-style spoken word. It's whatever you feel like, but the floor is yours, whatever you want to do.
Go, Jason.
All right. I'm going to go a little balladish. I don't know if somebody's done this yet or not, but... Shed a tear 'cause I'm missing you. I'm still alright to smile. Girl, I think about you every day now. Was a time when I wasn't sure, but you set my mind at ease. There is no doubt you're in my heart now. Said woman, take it slow. It'll work itself out fine. All we need is just a little patience. How's that?
Oh, we're both, Lisa and I both have our phones out.
We got our lighters out, our modern lighters.
That's a good old one.
Yeah.
Jason.
Well done. Patience
Good
by
job.
Guns N' Roses. Good choice. We hadn't had that one yet. I'm really glad that one got crossed off.
Are you busy next weekend?
Well, always busy, but this sounds like a better thing to do.
Cancel the plans. Cancel them all, because you're going to Vancouver to BC Place Stadium to see Guns N' Roses. You got 2 tickets. Who are you taking?
Well, I'm probably taking my wife.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Probably a good choice, yes.
Well, Jason, hold on the line. We're going to take your information off the air to get you the tickets.
Shed a tear 'cause I'm missing you. I'm still alright to smile. Girl, I think about you every day now.
Love it. Okay, 8:16. Let's get the headlines. And congratulations to all our winners, by the way. It's been fun this week, and thank you for being good sports and singing for us. But anyways, what's in the news, Lisa?
Saanich Police sharing some good news about one of their own. Constable Jennifer Allen, the recipient of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police Lifetime Achievement Award for Traffic Safety. The statement shares that in her 23-year policing career, first in California and last decade with Saanich Police, Constable Allen demonstrated exceptional dedication to road safety. She has become a subject matter expert on impaired driving investigations in both countries, the U.S. and Canada, and she has personally removed 347 impaired drivers off local streets right across the CRD. Prince Harry and 6 others, including singer Elton John, have been ordered to pay an initial $13 million to the publishers of Britain's Daily Mail newspaper after a failed invasion of privacy case. It follows a defeat in a high court case in London last month alleging malpractice, such as illegal hacking of phones. The high-profile figures will learn the scale of their exposure to roughly $46 million in legal costs incurred by associated newspapers. Meanwhile, Harry was seen in Washington, D.C. this week, but did not address his family's upcoming move from California back to Britain to a private, non-royal residence outside of London. We're learning that they want the grandkids to have more time with King Charles III, who is their grandfather. The Odyssey is set to make an all-time R-rated record. This week, after being in theaters for just over a month, The Odyssey became the highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time. The epic film has now pulled in $1.3 million U.S. worldwide, edging out the previous record holder, Deadpool and Wolverine, by about $20 million so far, and we're not done. For Marmot Week, or Fat Marmot Week, that is coming soon. Last winter was a tough one for the groundhog-like rodents living in the Colorado mountains. Of course, we have our own marmots here on Vancouver Island, a very famous bunch of rodents. But researchers in Colorado say there wasn't enough snow to keep their burrows warm in Colorado while they hibernated, causing many to freeze to death. The marmots that survived are doing well, they say. They're fattened up, gaining the critical fat that they need to make it through next winter. To draw up interest in the work, Marmot Research is launching an online contest in the States to vote on your favorite critter. That begins on Monday. And just in case you have been living under a rock, those negotiations continue in Washington, D.C. as we approach, again, the 11th hour for a trade deadline. Clock ticking down on the latest tariff deadline at 9 our time tonight, which could see levies of $28 billion on Canadian goods if a deal is not inked before that. We'll let you know what happens next. That is your news to 8:19.
On that very story, Lisa, with the trade negotiations continuing, we're going to get a perspective from David Black, Royal Roads University. Always love his take on these big stories. So the latest from him next. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. We'll keep it real quick because the roads are looking very clear. The BC ferries have no sailing weights. And the weather, well, it's starting sunny. It's going to cloud over. And then there's a chance of a thunderstorm tonight and maybe even some showers. That'll carry into early parts of tomorrow. Showers on and off through the weekend, quite possible. But yeah, today, otherwise, we start sunny. And it's also a warm one. Highs at 26, a humidex at 31 coming our way. We're already at 18 degrees at the airport.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Continuing to follow this developing story, the Canada-U.S. trade negotiations. They're back at it right now. The trade representatives are huddled into the room, or at least they're heading into it right now, with this deadline coming at us just after midnight tonight to avoid the big threatened Trump tariffs. What's going to be happening with this deal? There's a lot going on here. David Black, professor of communications and culture with Royal Roads University, joining us for a take on all this. Always good to talk to you, David. How you doing?
Well, good. Yes, here, waiting on tenterhooks as we follow this interim deal negotiation on a very strict deadline, and we'll know probably this weekend the details of the finalized interim deal.
Now, one place that would be interesting to go with this right now is as we try to figure out, what will those details be? What will they mean for Canada and all that? There's also the question of what does this week mean for Mark Carney as Prime Minister for this Liberal government? Politically, what's at stake for him? Talk about how big this week is for this Prime Minister and for this government.
I think this is the most eventful week of the Carney government thus far. About a year and roughly a half into its term, and that's because Mark Carney was elected largely to manage the U.S.-Canada economic relationship with what, let's allow, is a very unreliable partner on the other side in terms of the Trump administration. So we are going to see once the details of this interim deal, because this is not CUSMA per se, this is an interim deal, largely meant to avoid these punitive Section 338 tariffs that were announced a month ago and are going to put, a 50% tariff on about $20 billion worth of goods crossing that border. We're going to see Carney, having to sell what will be some difficult concessions for Canadians. Among them, the return of U.S. alcohol to Canadian liquor store shelves, and also keep the premiers on side and Canadian industry groups on side, because this deal, whatever it might be, and we don't know a lot as to its content, is going to fall unevenly on the Canadian economy.
I think it's an interesting point that a prime minister who was elected to deal exactly with this is now where the rubber is meeting the road. And either it'll come out great and he'll continue in his popularity, or maybe this is the turning point where the honeymoon finally ends if things don't go in a way that is popular amongst Canadians. So I guess there's a lot riding on this.
There is. I mean, he's helped by the fact that Trump's political capital is at a very low ebb. He's polling in the low 30s right now in terms of his approval. Carney, enviably, is in around 60% approval, which is a kind of high water mark for any Canadian prime minister. But it's among the concessions. I mean, the issue of alcohol has kind of symbolic value. I mean, everyone understands the presence or absence of U.S. booze on Canadian shelves, but it's economically not that significant compared to any of the other concessions, and politically significant compared to many of the other concessions. Things potentially like us having to buy all those F-35 fighter jets, us becoming part of the Golden Dome missile defense system, us committing to yet another pipeline, Keystone XL. These are things that are a bigger deal economically, a bigger deal kind of politically in terms of our kind of our middle power profile, our concern to build alliances and relationships outside our relationship with the United States. And so again, that's the maximal list from the Trump administration. But some of them are going to be very difficult to accept.
A few other storylines to talk about here. The premiers, obviously, we're back to that alcohol ban. They really have a role in this because one of the main American negotiating points, the things they want to see, one of the sticking points for them is the booze ban on Canadian store shelves, which is a provincial jurisdiction. That's where the Prime Minister needs the premiers to get on board. It's been interesting to watch this. We haven't necessarily seen all the premiers jump up and say, yeah, okay, Team Canada, let's go. We'll put the booze back on the shelves. Anything you say, Mr. Prime Minister. We've seen some silence from some of them, including our own Premier David Eby. He hasn't really said either way what he's doing. And Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew said some, suggesting, I guess, they might put the booze back. He also had some pretty, inflammatory things, or maybe I don't know how you want to characterize it, but he said some things that got some attention yesterday. How do you take how the premiers are handling this?
Well, I think it's again in the alcohol, the booze issue, that the premiers have kind of demonstrated in a kind of symbolic and easily kind of decipherable way their support and solidarity with the Prime Minister, despite the province's own interests and of course different political parties in power in those provinces. I think that one thing that's going to help the Prime Minister here is that his popularity is greater than really all the other premiers, except perhaps Wab Kinew in Manitoba, who's enjoying a long honeymoon as premier. So it may well be that a Canadian public, would make its interest in their premiers supporting the Prime Minister in what is, and let's allow a very difficult, not so normal negotiating relationship with the United States. So, again, I think a lot of the political success of this interim deal will be defined in terms of the scope and the nature of the concessions. And because we know so little about the deal, it's being negotiated understandably, sort of privately without having negotiated in public. This weekend I think there'll be something of a big reveal, and we'll be able to take the measure of the political costs to Kearney with his ample political capital and just where this all falls economically as well.
David Black with Royal Roads University. The most eventful week for the Mark Carney government, and the grade will come this weekend after we learn what's in the deal. So a lot riding for the government, a lot riding for Canada with trade with the U.S. at stake as well. We'll see where it goes. Midnight deadline again. Second time this week we've had one of those hanging over us, and we'll be watching it. But in the meantime, David Black with Royal Roads University. Always a pleasure to get your take on these things. Thank you for doing it again with us.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, we got the 8:30 news coming up in just a moment, and it's Friday. We're going to get our Friday food vibes on. Dallas from the Vic Food Guys joining us, I believe, in studio in just a few minutes, so don't miss that.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vassy Capellos.
What started as a dull day is anything but.
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily.
What is really going on?
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vassy Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vassy Capellos. Weekdays 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which is
on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 8:31 on Friday, August the 21st. With sunshine to start the day, a risk of a thunderstorm by the end of it with a bunch of heat and humidity in the middle. I'll get to the full forecast in just a moment. That'll kind of get you started, though, as we head out into it. And here's the news with Lisa.
We're watching the clock. 9 o'clock our time is the deadline for Canadian-American officials to come to terms on this latest trade deal. They're in meetings, have been in meetings for about an hour now in Washington, D.C. We're waiting news from that. Following all the lengthy meetings they've had, there are hints the deal is close to limping across the finish line. But we've heard this before. Now, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says accepting one-sided 25% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum would be just a bad idea. Speaking to reporters today in Kitchener, Poilievre says Canadian companies would be at a disadvantage if their U.S. competitors face no equivalent tariff.
I was at an aluminum company yesterday. They say their competitors on the American side of the border are not paying any kind of tariff. Well, they are. So tell me how the Canadian company is supposed to compete against an American company when only our guy pays the tariff.
Poilievre says the Prime Minister should deliver the good deal he promised. that he made during his election campaign. Now, there's worry at least one premier's comments could potentially disrupt some of the progress. Here's Manitoba's Wab Kinew yesterday.
I think we should fight. I think we've got the upper hand. They're back on their heels right now. They're coming to us for a deal. And so I think we should fight.
CTV News chief political correspondent and CFAX host Vassy Kapelos explains how the federal government officials are reacting to those comments.
The exact phrases used to describe what Premier Kinew said, which of course he feels is very justifiable, not helpful. The timing couldn't be worse and very frustrating. I think the bigger issue for the federal government and the negotiating team, however, is that the Premier's comments, if you look at public opinion polling, are very much in line with what Canadians think. I think this is a prime example of the challenge that lies ahead, even if a deal is signed, sealed, and delivered.
The other fight the U.S. has on its hands and has for months now, 7 months in fact, is Iran. And that country is promising devastating response to new U.S. economic sanctions.
This after the Trump administration said it plans to impose the toughest sanctions in history on Iran and economic consequences for any country that assists Iran. The chief of staff of Iran's armed forces said that with preparedness across land, sea, air defense, and cyberspace, Iran's armed forces will respond to the enemy's new threats with crushing, punishing, and devastating responses. I'm Michael Kastner.
Apparently no survivors in a U.S. military chartered plane crash in western Alaska.
A small plane chartered by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers crashed in western Alaska Thursday afternoon near its destination, a remote private military site. All 8 people on board were killed. The National Transportation Safety Board's Alaska Region Chief says on the plane were 2 pilots and 6 passengers, and that the Cessna 441 had taken off from Anchorage. Foggy weather had been reported. U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska says the flight was operated by an Anchorage-based airplane charter company called Security Aviation. I'm Donna Warder.
A plane crashed in Prince George yesterday. A twin-engine plane made an emergency landing on a road, but unfortunately crashed into 2 vehicles and scattered debris, including the prop. In the process, RCMP say 1 person inside one of the cars has died. The Transportation Safety Board crew investigators are being deployed to the city. They're expected to arrive today. And Neutrogena is apologizing for dropping Hayden Panettiere as she battled postpartum depression 10 years ago.
The late actress was the face of the skincare giant, but she claimed in her memoir, Neutrogena axed her contract over her breaking a morality clause. It happened after she went public about battling postpartum depression following the 2014 birth of her daughter. Fans were threatening a Neutrogena boycott following her death just days ago. On Thursday, the company posted it understands it made her feel unsupported, adding this is not what Neutrogena stands for or who we want to be. I'm Monica Nelson.
That's your news to 8:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking if you've ever attempted to keep a wild animal as a pet. About 15% say yes. Tried, maybe succeeded. You can share 7-10-10. We'd like to hear that. You can also vote. CFAX1070.com. Also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:37.
Lisa Dallas with the Vic Food Guys is in the studio.
Right
so we're gonna talk to him in just a few moments. He's got food recommendations. He's been trying things.
Good.
What has Dallas been eating? It's going to be a great chat in just a moment. That's what we should call this, actually.
Right?
It's not Friday Food Vibes. It's just, what did Dallas eat?
What did Dallas eat? Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a moment. Here's a standby, but we do the sports first. Where I will tell you that the Toronto Blue Jays on the diamond took the rubber match in their series against the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, winning a series at Tropicana Field for what was the first time they've done that since 2023. Shane Bieber went 7 innings, allowing just 1 run in the 5-1 win, and spoke after the game about how the team seems to have found some momentum.
It feels like it's showing up more as of late, the fight that this team has. Feeling like we're in every ball game. That's the identity of this team. That's the identity that we've fought really hard, even through that first half, to maintain. And I think it's showing up right now.
The Jays remain half a game back of a wild card spot, and they are in the Bronx this weekend for a 3-game series against the New York Yankees. For the Seattle Mariners side of things, they are still 4 spots back of their wild card race. They had a loss last night, 7-4 to Milwaukee. Lots of Shamrocks lacrosse to talk about. Victoria Shamrocks Game 4 versus the Coquitlam Adanacs tonight on the mainland. The Shamrocks are down 2-1. The Adanacs leading that series. And the Junior A Shamrocks kick off their Minto Cup final. It's the final series. It's a best of 3. It'll be against the Raiders in Calgary. The first of those 3 games coming up tonight. And then just to quickly tell you that the West Shore Rebels football team hosting the Okanagan Sun this Saturday. So that's tomorrow at Starlight Stadium. Game time 4 o'clock with the Rebels 3-1 so far early in their season. That's your sports to 8:39.
Thinking about home renos, but the cost is too high? Think again. Explore affordable DIY options from ProTech Exterior Products at beahomepro.com.
CFAX traffic and weather. Text us 71010 if you see anything, but right now it's smooth sailing for the local roads and smooth sailing quite literally for BC Ferries with no sailing waits there. The weather, it's going to be a journey today because we're starting off with some sunshine. Then we're going to cloud over. Then we get into a risk of a thunder shower by this evening. So it's going to look very different by the end of it from where we're starting. Also very hot and humid today. Highs at 26, humidex at 31. We got that risk of a thunderstorm, as I mentioned, overnight with a low of 14. It's going to carry a little bit into the morning. Thunder or lightning aside, it'll just be a chance of showers through the rest of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and then we clear up in time for the work week on Monday. Right now, already 18 degrees at the airport. On the markets, S&P TSX in Toronto up 165 to 36,531. The Dow in New York is up 383 to 53,142. Canadian dollar at 72.6 cents US.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Hey, it's a Friday, and I'm so excited to do this.
Oh, eat it. Just eat it. Come on, then, let's go.
Friday food vibes.
You ever think about what we put into our mouths?
All the time.
You are cooking.
On CFAX 1070.
Yeah, here he is. It's Dallas from the Big Food Guys. Dallas, how you doing?
I'm doing great. If nobody's actually watching the video, you do have to see Ryan when that music hits.
Oh, I'm bopping.
Yes, that is worth the price of admission times 100.
I am bopping to that tune.
You should have seen Ryan when our winner was singing Patience.
Oh, yeah, we had Guns N' Roses giveaway earlier. It's been a very musical 8 o'clock hour.
It's very
here.
good. Yeah, it's
I'm
Friday.
into it. I'm feeling the Friday vibes, and that's why we like to talk to Dallas. This is where Dallas, you got the Vic Food Guys. Follow Vic Food Guys on Instagram, by the way, where Dallas shares pictures to go along with all of these things he eats. But today, we've got some important stuff to get to, including a couple of events. I don't know if you want to start with those or if you got anything else on your mind. Where do you want to start?
No, I think we start with a couple things that I did recently.
Okay, let's do that.
One of them was last night at Finest at Sea, which is the event that they did with Divers Catch.
Oh, you were talking to us about this where you were going to get to eat weird sea creatures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Colton was there. He was leading the charge, sort of guiding everyone through this. And yeah, I don't know if people there necessarily realized, like, I'm sure most people did, but like it was so special.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you get to crack open like a sea urchin?
Never.
And then you get to have like fresh uni.
Did you?
Never.
Did you do that? Did you crack open a sea urchin?
I did.
Did you get like nutcrackers or something? Or
No, we just had some spoons. You just flip it over and then you crack it open.
Okay.
And then you get the uni inside. So this was a real cool opportunity because, you know, you had the fresh uni, but then
You keep saying that word uni.
What is uni? You're assuming we know this.
I think it's the reproductive organs of
That's what we
of
eat?
the sea urchin, I think.
So that's why you're
Okay.
saying uni and not,
Forks
not
down.
the alternative.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's really? Okay.
It's a delicacy.
Okay.
We're going there.
Trust me. But then we had the gooey duck, which I learned how to pronounce last week.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that
a good gooey duck.
that was cool. That was, I would say, it had like a crab flavor to it.
Okay.
Oh.
But it was the texture between a crab and like tripe. The texture was in between those two, but the flavor had like a crab flavor to it.
Was it rubbery at all?
Yes.
Okay, like
Yeah.
tripe is.
Yeah, so it was halfway between like crab and tripe, the
So you gotta
texture-wise.
like the texture. Okay.
Yeah, if you're a texture person, you might have a challenge. And then,
The visual of it's a bit scary too.
well,
Yeah, there's
there was all sorts of stuff. And then he had the sea cucumber.
Oh.
Where he showed us very delicately how you like open it and then you get the meat off that thing. And yeah, all of this stuff is, you can see why it's a delicacy because there's not very much of it. I mean, the gooey duck, I guess, is a little bit different, but there's not that much inside these animals.
So you could be a beach survivalist now. You could find all this stuff on the beach and
I am not Survivor Man. If you leave that to me, we're going to be in problems. But no, it was just such a cool event last night. They had stuff paired. Mark was there from Storied Wines, and so it was a whole meal where it was 5 courses. They had uni ice cream at the end, but they had the ice cream was done 2 different ways. So you got to try. I forget the distinction between the 2 different ways, but they were processed differently. So you got to have this like sort of experience of trying 2 different things at the end. So just all told, you know, for $55 to have this interactive experience, it was extremely unique. And I would say when they do something like this again, anyone that's interested in like sort of the sea and just getting more education and a unique experience, you have to check it out.
Neat.
I think one of the neat things about this is Finest at Sea. You think of them as like a fish shop. I mean, they do their own fishing as well. They got the boats out there, and they come and they sell their wares. But they're so much more than that because they do things like this, these kind of fun culinary events as well.
Yeah, and they just like that parking lot they have there is so versatile because they did like Prawn Fest there. We were all sitting at these tables on their little parking lot area last night. I made a joke with Jen about that. But yeah, Finest at Sea, they operate on a different level. So my understanding now is like on boats when you're catching fish, there's a camera on each of the lines that records all of the fish that are coming up that line.
What?
And then you have to now reconcile what was on the camera with your manifest. And that, I believe, is because of Finest at Sea and how they operate.
Really?
That the owner basically pushed for this to be like mandatory that all boats have to do this.
keeping everyone honest.
100%.
Wow.
And so there's so many different things that Finest at Sea does and things that we can learn that we don't actually like know about. We don't know what we don't know, but they're doing things on such a high level that, you know, for anyone that likes seafood that hasn't been to Finest at Sea, they have the food truck out the front. They have the market in the back to buy stuff, take home and cook at home. But Finest at Sea just operates on a different level, and it's really cool.
Well, that's so cool. Okay, Dallas, from the Vic Food Guys, there's your first adventure you're going to tell us about. We got so many more things coming up in just a moment, but Lisa's got our news first. Don't go anywhere. Dallas is coming back. Right now to the headlines. Lisa, what's going on?
News of another bear attack. BC Conservation Office Service says it responded to an attack in Metro Vancouver earlier this week that left a woman and her dog injured. They say the confrontation happened Monday on the back deck of the woman's property in Enmore. The service said she has non-life-threatening injuries. The bear had left by the time they arrived. This encounter follows closely that other case in Metro Vancouver where a 3-year-old girl was attacked by a black bear on the back deck of her home. That was in Maple Ridge. The U.S. military says a charter aircraft carrying 8 crashing into a remote radar site in western Alaska Thursday killed all on board. The crash happened near Cape Newenham long-range radar site airport, about 450 miles west of Anchorage. Clint Johnson with the National Transportation Safety Board said earlier that there were 2 pilots and 6 passengers on board. And nearly 6 months into the war by the U.S., food, medicine, and everything except heavily subsidized gasoline products have become far more costly in Iran. The Middle East nation's economy is taking a beating from sanctions and a naval blockade. The unemployment is soaring, and people with jobs are working more hours, yet earning less money than they were a year ago. Some experts are skeptical that intensifying economic pressure will translate into military or political concessions from Iran anytime soon. They say the U.S. president may be underestimating how long that country can actually hold out. And that is your news to 8:48.
Back at it with Dallas with the Vic Food Guys in just a moment.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. 40 years of Fringe magic. Experience Victoria Fringe Festival, August 26th through September 6th. Feel the roar at Pacific FC. Get your soccer tickets today at cplsoccer.com. West Shore Swap Shop and Market is at Rally at Royal Bay every Sunday. Support Goldstream Food Bank with a $2 admission or a food donation. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase in-store at Thrifty Foods. On the roads, we're still looking good as far as the commute. Things are light when it comes to volume out of the West Shore. No other crashes or problems. No problems at BC Ferries. It's a room left on the 9 o'clock coming up. And in the weather forecast, it's warm and humid today, clouding over, and eventually a risk of a thunder shower by tonight.
Oh, eat it. Just eat it.
Come on, then, let's go.
Friday food vibes.
You ever think about what we put into our mouths?
All the time.
You are cooking
on CFAX 1070.
It might be redundant to play that again, but I just love it so much, so I want
It's never redundant.
That's okay. So
Perfect.
We're doing our Friday Food Vibes chat with Dallas with the Vic Food Guys. You were just updating us on that thing you told us about last week. It was the finest at sea. I can't remember what you called it, but it was the weird stuff. The Diver's Catch, or what was it?
Well, Diver's Catch in collaboration with Finest at Sea, and then Colton was there sort of leading it.
Yeah, there you go. So texters wanted to jump in on that. You were talking about one of the things you ate was gooey duck. This texter says gooey duck is Japanese for... the gooey duck in Japanese is mirage, and it's best eaten as sashimi or lightly cooked in a Chinese hot pot. So there's just a tip for trying it as something in a different way. And then this texter wanted to say, Finest at Sea also has the best salmon deviled eggs. You order a half a dozen, and none will make it the drive home, says this texter.
That sounds like a challenge. I might need to give it a shot here.
Good to know. Thank you for joining the conversation. Okay, so we did that one, but you got a few other things to talk about. Where do you want to take us next?
Yeah, so this weekend, I didn't seem like there was actually like a lot of things going on, which I was surprised about. But one of the things, let's get into a couple things that are happening. The first one's at Goodside. Goodside Pastry House. They're doing a collaboration with House Sausage, and I realized that I'm wearing a Goodside shirt right now. So I'm ready for this event. This is happening Sunday from 12 to 2 p.m. It's a barbecue pop-up. So Shane and Kyle will be there from House. It's happening at the back parking lot behind Goodside at 1805 Fort Street. So as far as I've seen, you can go get a burger combo. So you get go get a burger. It has one of Goodside's mini cream puffs included, and then you get a drink with it. So you go get a combo, support two amazing businesses that do a great job. And I got to give a shout out to House, their pate, or there's another term for it. I forget what they call it. But I just polished one of those things off in the last couple of weeks. It was like my dessert, the whatever it's called. I forget. It was so delicious.
Pate will work. We understand.
Yeah, I just take a spoon and get a little bit off the top. And that's like my finish for the night. And I was just doing that every day.
Oh, I got a visual now. It's like 11 o'ck at night, and Dallas is at the fridge with a little spoon, and you're in the light of the fridge
I'd like
just
to see
eating
Dallas's
your pate.
fridge, really.
I would, yeah.
I should put up a picture.
Maybe he has a couple.
It's very random. There's not a lot in there. But skimming a little bit off the top, and that was like, because it's so rich, right?
Yeah.
But it's delicious.
And it's pate?
It's a type of pate.
Okay.
I forget the term for it.
Go there and ask.
The
sort of kind of pate.
And they're
you
in
see them at the
Duya.
farmers markets all the time.
100%.
Okay.
Yep. And their Nduja is great too. The pre-cooked sausage-looking thing. That stuff is fantastic. So we got that going on. That's going on Sunday from 12 to 2. And then tomorrow from 12 to 8, Victoria's biggest Nigerian summer gathering is happening at Topaz Park. So this is celebrating Nigerian culture, community, music, and of course food. And, when we're talking about food, I seem to, for some reason, know a lot of people doing different things, right? And one of my buddies, Alex, who hasn't done a pop-up since the public market shut down downtown, he's going to be there. Alex, a.k.a. the Grill Lord, if anybody knows him by that name.
That's excellent.
So he's with the Ministry of Enjoyment, and then they're going to be he's going to be there doing some stuff. He's going to have meat pies, beef suya. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Then he's got a drink called Chapman, and then they have these shawarmas. And Ryan, we actually did a segment with him on the noon show, I think a couple years ago, where we talked about these shawarmas that have hot dogs in them. I don't know if you remember that.
Vaguely, this rings a bell.
Okay.
I think hot dog shawarma is a memorable experience.
So it's like meat with meat?
Yeah, so it's
Would you
kind
like
of
some meat with your meat.
It's kind of like, a shawarma you might expect, but then when I bit into it and I started eating it, I was like, is there a hot dog in this? So I guess for
It's like turducken, but different.
for Nigerian shawarma, there's a hot dog in there. So it added a lot to the experience. Actually, the flavor worked really well. So if anybody's looking for something to do tomorrow from 12 to 8 at Topaz Park, go hunt Alex down. Try one of these shawarmas, get the other stuff. It's going to be a really good time.
That's so cool.
Nice. And lots of culture.
100%, yeah. And it's going for 8 hours. So you got some variability in when you can stop by.
Cool.
And then we got cheesesteaks on the agenda.
Yeah, so So we're going to jump into cheesesteaks.
Okay.
This is something I had last Saturday. Located at 475 Gorge Road East. Kyle is there with a thing called Rositi's Italian Sandwiches and Wraps. And he does Philly cheesesteaks on Fridays. And if he doesn't sell out, it goes into Saturday.
Okay.
So he's cutting the fat off the meat. He told me he's using ribeye, which is like insanely expensive. So, and it made sense after I had it because he's cutting it so thin. But then after, it wasn't like I just had a gut bomb. Like I felt good afterwards.
Yeah, you don't feel it too heavy.
I didn't feel heavy at all. I felt energized.
Nice.
And Kyle, he's a bodybuilder, so it makes sense that he would cut the fat off, and he's coming at it from there is some form of nutrition there, right? Like the ratio and all that kind of stuff. But I felt great afterwards. This cheesesteak was just phenomenal,
Okay, so where is it again?
So it's on Bridge Street at Gorge Road East, basically at the corner. Okay. It's a black trailer that's sitting in the parking lot of the store that's there. It's kind of by Il Sauvage on the other side of the building.
All these clandestine locations. And I know it's good because I can hear you salivating while you talk about it.
Yeah, I think my mouth might be clicking a little bit. It's just I'm getting hungry right now. It was so good, but he's also got like a meatball sandwich with his Nona's 100-year-old recipe.
Oh, that's nice. You got to get the Nona involved when it's an Italian place.
Yes, and so he's got that. He's got like a veal cutlet sandwich that he said is unlike anything else on the island.
Yeah.
So he's got those. He's got a bunch of other stuff too. He even has cookies, which he said his partner I think makes those, and I should have got some of those when I was there. But the Philly cheesesteak, again, it's on Friday for sure, and Saturday if it bleeds into it. So if you're looking for something cool to have, the Philly cheesesteak at Rositi's.
Dallas and the Vic Food Guys. Follow his Instagram for more and pictures of all of this. We could go on, but we're out of time. Dallas, we'll just talk again next Friday.
We'll have to do it.
Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk on Monday.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.